He's got a first down and more. High stepping touchdown, Adrian Peterson.
This is 365 Sports.
Frazier adding more numbers, more yards to those. Oh, they don't have him yet. Look at Tommy Frazier. How many tackles can one man break? Touchdown.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Ward takes the snap. Play action. Drops. Looks. Popped out of the pocket. Runs to his left. Throws it downfield. It is caught by Dunn. He's got the first down to the 40. Down to the 50. Down the sideline to the 40. Down to the 30. He separates. He's to the 20. To the 10. To the 5. Touchdown. Florida State. Warwick got a third down. Unbelievable.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Burrow's got time, launching for the end zone, jump ball, touchdown, Terrence Marshall.
365 Sports is turbocharged by Unite Private Networks. Find out more at uniteprivatenetworks.com.
Touchdown for Russell, but only 14 of 29. He finds his number one target, number one, Corey Coleman, off to the races, touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go to wrap up a week. Full throttle in the month of March. By the time we meet on Monday, we will know the NCAA field of 68 teams and whether the Big 12 gets 7, most likely 8 teams in. And will the SEC have as many as 14 because of the run that a couple of their teams are on, including Texas? They're right now early on playing Tennessee. Good afternoon. I'm David Smoak, Craig Smoak, and Paul Catalina with me, and Andrew Valade running the mothership today. Garrett has been on a family vacation, driving around the country. Talked to him yesterday when I left the studio. He was in St. Louis, Missouri, headed back. On Monday, he's going to share pictures of some of the famous stadiums he visited outside of the front gates when he comes back with us on Monday. All right, happy birthday. Can you put the graphic at the bottom down just for a second, or is that no? Oh my God! It says happy birthday, Craig. Well done, Andrew. Craig Smoak, happy birthday. Tomorrow's his birthday, but of course we won't be on the air tomorrow.
Yeah, no, thank you, appreciate it. I don't know what I'm going to do with that cake, but I'm traveling tonight, so might have to have you guys take some chunks of that. But yeah, I appreciate the thought and appreciate the happy birthday wishes. Can't wait to celebrate number 21. Been looking forward to this one for a long time. Finally legal, and can't wait to party it up big tonight.
20 years of being 21, I think, is what
crazy,
it is. Yeah.
Crazy run of 21 birthdays. Yeah.
Paul is in his near 50s. Andrew's still in his young 20s. And then, of course, I'm on Medicare and Social Security at my particular age. All right, so
Ides
by
of
the
March,
way,
baby, by the way, I am.
Yeah. What's
Ides
that?
Of Ides of March, March 15th.
That's true. That's right.
When Julius Caesar was assassinated. That's what it's known for. So,
did you know that until just now?
I knew Julius Caesar. I did not know when he died or what. I didn't. I knew he was killed. I do know that. But okay, Ides of. It's very nice. That could explain some things.
Yeah.
By the way, if you are in the chat room, even if you think we know you or you think you know us, and that's kind of a wild thought, give us where you're from. Lubbock, for example, maybe Scottsdale or Orlando, Houston, or even if you're in Kansas City. By the way, some of you are, of course, overseas, away from where we are among the 49 states, and Alaska, a part of that, and then Hawaii, our 50th state.
Listen, we ran some numbers the other day, and hello, Islamabad.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I did see that, and we're very big in India, by the way. All right, so tell us where you're from. We would appreciate that. Just kind of throwing it out there today. Now, the Big 12 semifinals tonight. Here's the bracket, down to 4. It's chalk. You have BYU and Houston at the top, playing the early game this evening, followed by the next game, Texas Tech. A foot or two away from blowing that, what was a pretty big lead, 14 points, I think, against Baylor on a VJ Edgecombe heave near the top of the right side of the three-point line. Great win, though, as Texas Tech advances. And then Arizona, just too much for KU. Those are the 4 teams, and those are and have been, for the most part, the most consistent teams in the Big 12. Of course, BYU is on a heater.
Yeah, BYU is on a ridiculous heater right now. Arizona and Kansas just played less than a week ago. And I know that that's happened a couple times throughout these conference tournaments, but Kansas drilled them on senior night in Lawrence last week. Kind of was expecting Arizona to come back and play stronger. Even though it's essentially a home game for Kansas, I didn't think this team has they have the depth. They just don't have the continuity. Like, it's weird that last year their problem was depth. This year their problem is continuity. They just don't have the continuity to win a tournament like this. And, for most of the teams in this tournament, or at least the top 6 teams, I don't think it really mattered what happened. I think they were pretty much set where they were going to be. So it's probably good for Kansas to reset, get out of the Big 12, and go play somebody that hasn't seen them a bunch.
Yeah, I mean, it's March, so a lot of people love the chaos. This is not the tournament for that. This is not a very chaotic tournament going to your top 4 teams being your last 4 teams in. But I guess that, if anything, just makes it clear that they are the top 4 teams, and they are the ones playing the best basketball right now. So hopefully that bodes well for that quartet come March and maybe some others. But, I don't think this has been a tournament full of surprises by any means. You had maybe some level of that early on the first couple of days. But, these are the teams playing the best basketball that have played the best basketball overall up until this point, and we'll see how they shake out. I know that Houston's got a little bit of an injury concern. So we'll see if that is something that impacts them against BYU later on tonight. But, BYU's been playing hellaciously good basketball, and they're on quite the run right now. Houston's Houston. I mean, I think their real test of their might is in the coming weeks and what they end up doing ultimately, if they can finally break through and win that national championship. And then you wanted Arizona to come in and be impactful, and I think that they've done that so far. And then Texas Tech has been a really good team as well all year long that a lot of people feel like can make a run. So 4 really good teams, 4 teams that you expect to make some noise, not only this weekend but in the weekends to follow. So, it ought to be a good pair of semifinal games and a good championship game no matter who ends up emerging later on tonight. Yeah,
and it will be fun. BYU's been hot. That unbelievable shootout with Iowa State. Iowa State's been in that mix too. So there we are, the semifinals this evening, the early game about the time we walk away from our studio tonight, and then also the nightcap with Texas Tech and also Arizona.
Iowa State's been dealing with some injuries, though, and they lost to BYU twice in the last week and a half. I think they've fallen both times in those matchups, so that's a couple of big wins over the Cyclones for BYU. But, you throw them into that top group as well. It just feels like they haven't, though, been kind of in that conversation as much in the recent weeks, as much as maybe the others have. But, they are a team that will have something to say as well.
Yeah, I do think that Tech, I think, played the second half, was it without Williams? One of the players in the second half, Langston Love, didn't play again. Every time he gets a game or 2 in, he doesn't play. Of course, if you need the time, like Juwan Roberts at Houston, they can win without him, but he's a hell of a part of what they are, and he got that, kind of tweaked that ankle yesterday, and probably, I don't know if he'll play tonight or not, but at the same time, you're going to have attrition, you're going to have bumps and bruises, and some guys being gone hurt more than others.
Langston Love, you mean Baylor Cam Rising? I mean, that's what it almost feels like. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Is he gonna play?
I had somebody at the condo ask me, walking like her 9 dogs, say, hey, is Langston Love hurt?
The answer to that question is yes.
Yes.
It's one of those questions that is the Twitter account where every day it's yes until the one day where it's no, and you're like, oh, my God, it says no today.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a very good point. By the way, here is Kelvin Sampson for what was against Colorado, who's been kind of pesky, a little bit annoying if you're playing them. Baylor learned that in Boulder. I like that we won. I have zero interest in spending 2 seconds about the way we play. It doesn't matter. He made the comment by saying you win, and then you also move on, which is what they did.
I mean, it's convenient for him to say, like I said yesterday, they have 3 versions of games: good, really good, and great. So if you want to be like, how do you feel you played tonight? Like, oh, well, we weren't great. All right. You were really good or good. Yeah. That's fine. But nothing bad really happens to them. Yeah. You have to absolutely – I mean, I'm curious. The 4 times they've lost this year, I guarantee you go into that the winner's locker room, and they are they have to have a day and a half off more than they normally would in the week after winning that game because it's going to take every single ounce out of you. That's how tough Houston is.
Auburn and Alabama are 2 of those losses. Of course, Texas Tech, those are 3 top 10 teams. But you're right. You beat Houston. You feel good about it. And what they have. Listening to Kelvin Sampson, never, ever, ever would have been anywhere talented enough to play pretty much any collegiate sport. Wished I could have played baseball, but I couldn't. I would love to have played for someone like Kelvin Sampson. He's the kind of guy, he's the kind of coach that would get me the best out of me, even if the best was not very good. Meanwhile, we mentioned BYU on a heater. Look at this note from Greg Wrubell, who is the voice of BU Athletics. They, a month ago, had none, 0, zippa, nada, zilch, quad 1 wins. Now, Kevin Young, who was hired in the offseason when Pope went to Kentucky, are one of only 15 teams out of 350 of them with 8 or more quad wins with their record overall in those 14 games, which is an astounding 8-6 after winning yesterday against Iowa State, and now they get Houston this evening.
Yeah, they're just – I mean, they're draining threes. They're doing everything right. 18 threes yesterday. That game against Houston tonight should be really, really fun. And – yeah, Kevin Young's doing a great job there. They've got depth. They've got the number 1 player in the country coming next year. So they're building some momentum into the future there in Provo.
Also, Iowa 17-16 after losing in a game where Fran McCaffrey, their head coach, the winningest coach in Iowa Hawkeyes basketball history, men's basketball, was ejected in that game. He's got a hot tie. He's got the ability to blow a gasket, not to have enough Freon or whatever you want to call it in the air conditioner. He's out. 15 years, 7 NCAA tournaments, all-time leader in wins in Iowa, and he was 17-16 this year. He's kind of a grumpy old man. He is, but he also was pretty successful. But 17-16, ejected in his last game, and Iowa now appears. Well, they're going to be looking for their next head coach in basketball.
Yeah, he's been there a long time. Lost. I mean, once you kind of lose your kid that's a superstar and don't replace him, I guess it's tough. They've lost some really good players in the last couple of years, and his last thing was getting booted out of the game last night.
Yeah,
so
ejected,
he got to leave a little even earlier in his last game as the Hawkeyes coach. He had a very long career, so we'll see if he – I don't know. Is he going to come back and coach some more?
I think maybe he does.
I mean, like, would he take a job somewhere else?
I've kind of watched this. It seems like he's about had enough. But he's successful enough that somebody could probably get better if he joined their program rather than where he is now.
Yeah, I mean, how old is he?
I don't know.
Okay, well, that would probably aid in whether or not he's 65 years old.
Okay,
so
there's nothing wrong with being 65.
No, but there is if you're an athletic director trying to pump some juice into a program. Yep. So I mean, maybe there's somewhere out there. I won't pretend to know enough about his attributes and his desirability at this point in his coaching career. Not exactly the dream national championship win to end your tenure, fantasy. The way he ended it was quite the opposite of just not even making it to the end of the game. But maybe that's a badge of honor in some way, of like it's a unique last go out in the black and gold. But I don't know. I've seen a few people, and it's hard to tell. Like half of them are probably bots at this point on X. But I do see some people like this is a mistake, and I don't know. It might be like some ornery old Iowa fan who's been watching him all this time. I really have no idea, but what I do know is that that's a unique way to end your career at Iowa and maybe your career overall. And the interesting thing to me actually is that there is a Big 12 coach who's been heavily linked already to this job, and that's old Darian DeVries out of West Virginia. So that's something that the Mountaineers, after just hiring him here recently, have been kind of looking out, like between the Indiana job and then the the rumors that were out there prior to this becoming official about McCaffrey. I know that there was some scuttlebutt about West Virginia kind of having to be on their toes about their head coach. So we'll see if that extends farther into the league or who else that extends to just nationally that would be of interest. But that is one school that's, I think, on their tippy toes right now, wondering if they're going to have to go do another college basketball head coaching search here in the next few weeks. So we'll have to keep tabs on that.
He was his first job as a head coach was at Lehigh, 500 record or so. Then he went to UNC Greensboro, 500 record or so. Went to the NCAA tournament once. Then went to Siena. Had 3 consecutive rounds of 32, 32, and 64. Made the tournament his last year. Got the job at Iowa. And they were in the postseason like 11 times. 6 of those were NCAA tournaments. Now, Bill Belichick and North Carolina, as they try to move into a new part of what's going on, his girlfriend asked to have been, she didn't, he asked that any kind of football communications, any emails, etc., that she be included. She, of course, is in charge of their social media. Now, Matt Hartman set this up really, really well. And there are some people that are like, what does she need to be involved with? First of all, he's the head coach. He can say pretty much what he wants. And then she could also have something created from that. But then Matt goes, now that I have your attention, the story really is that North Carolina put $21 million of other funding into athletics last year. Remember what Arizona State earlier this week? Not as much, but $21 million at North Carolina. And with the cost of Belichick, athletics will need to make an extra $50 million to break even this particular year.
Yeah, I mean, the college athletics has not been a profitable across-the-board thing because they never set it up to be that way. That's a new thing, that college athletics is supposed to be a for-profit industry, and not every institution knows how to do it right. So, yeah, I'm, pretty sure that, when they're in the you got to spend money to make money phase right now because they're just now figuring out how to do it. And if you don't win, it doesn't matter how much money you spend. You're not going to make it back.
Can already see this having been used or will be used. See, this is why we have to force our way into the Big Ten to compete and keep up with the, we'll hear all that jazz about the necessity because of the money. That's what rules everything. And so I don't know about the whole girlfriend story. I don't really know what to take away from that. I mean, clearly she's going to be involved in whether that's social media or just, handing out orange slices. I don't know. I don't really want to pay a whole lot of attention to her, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, it's a fun little funky college football story, and it makes North Carolina certainly more unique, but I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time, as far as I'm concerned, talking North Carolina football and having her a part of the formula, unless she is a bigger part of the formula, and then that itself becomes a story, kind of like what this is trying to make into a story. So I don't know if that's out of bounds or not. I guess we'll see, but she's definitely, because of that unique pairing, going to be in the headlines probably frequently. So, I guess on the surface, when you just read that line, you're like, oh, man, what's going on here? But that is going to be a very unique experiment. I mean, bringing in this legendary head coach in the NIL era and just where North Carolina is in the grand scheme of things, and then you throw in like the unique little side story like this. I've paid more attention to North Carolina football and heard more about them in the last 6 months or 5 months, 4 months, 3 months than I have probably in the last 3 years, honestly. So they've got that going for them. I don't know how many wins it turns into on the football field.
Yeah, the girlfriend thing is kind of weird to me, although he is like 73 years old. So my thought is he doesn't really use email, so she's in charge of emails.
Yeah, something like that. I can see that, I guess. Yeah.
That would be like, that's where, like, hey, Grandma, I need to email you something. Can you just print it out and send it to me? That's I feel like what her job is.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a line of stories like, is it normal? No. Is it or is it wrong? I think it was Pro Football Talk. Is it wrong? No, not necessarily. Is it normal? You be the judge. That's and on just the situation of her being involved to some extent. But, I mean, plenty of people have their opinions on that partnership, but how it affects North Carolina football remains to be seen. If things don't go well, I bet we hear a whole lot more about her and as the root cause, or as the she-devil that's bringing down Belichick in the something like that. Or if they're super successful, I mean, I don't know, but like I said, it's more of a conversation about Belichick than I ever anticipated having, especially at the college football level. So it's at least added a little extra spice to otherwise would be just a unique story in its own right, but now has a little something extra to it.
All right, so there's that from Matt Hartman. Now, this story, Ross Dellinger did a big piece on Brian Kelly and NIL at LSU. One of the thoughts, I saw the title of the story. I got to admit, I did not get a chance to read the whole thing, so we'll kind of dive into this. It's a money game now, how LSU is using NIL to keep up in ever-evolving college football world. It's a money game now. No, it's been that way now for about the last 2 or 3 years, but LSU felt like they were behind. Brian Kelly felt like they needed a boost, and so they have that, their new GM, which, by the way, I noticed that Nebraska's new general manager is getting $800,000. I saw that note on Twitter today from one of the writers who covers them. So that's probably the low point, maybe 750 to 800, and then maybe up in the millions with what we've mentioned with some of them.
You think Nebraska 800,000 is the low point?
I think Nebraska's general manager's position among the 4 power conferences, if you have a GM, I don't know how many are going to be making.
I know that Jim Nagy is $750K.
Okay, that's about.
Yeah, I wouldn't think Nebraska's the lowest. I mean, that's one of those things. It's like we can't be the lowest. We got to bump it up another $50K because we're Nebraska. But like,
I wonder what. I know we know that our friend James Blanchard at Tech is getting over $1 million, and there's a few others like that. But that's.
Is he getting over $1 million? I thought I read in the last. I mean, I don't care. I mean, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I'd just be surprised if Nebraska's on the low end.
Okay. All right. Let's get back. Okay. I think that's about the low end among the. Let's say the power schools in the 4 conferences.
Yeah. To this column though that Ross wrote, it's interesting to me. It is the closest you're going to get to Brian Kelly saying I was wrong about that, because I think one of the things he thought was, I'll go to LSU and the money will pour in because I don't need to make the kind of effort I would need to make, and because it's LSU, they've got money. Well, they're also run by the government of Louisiana, which, if you know anything about that state, is not the most. Yeah, it's not. We'll call it inefficient to be kind and corrupt to be accurate, but
lax when it comes to rules.
Yes, exactly. It's not famously since the 20s. Really corrupt in Louisiana. So so him going down there thinking everything's just going to be cool, I think was a thing. And then also, I think he might have underestimated how much that the other teams in the SEC weren't going to feel like he was. And like, well, I'll raise money. Yeah, but you got Kirby Smart, who's out there doubling the recruiting budgets and all these other things and getting told yes. And then Alabama with Nick Saban, I'm sure they don't tell Kalen DeBoer much right now either. And all these other schools, Tennessee, like, hey, Nico, you'll never have to fly commercial again for the rest of your life. All of those things, I think he kind of underestimated how fast that would happen. And he didn't react to it fast enough with LSU, and they fell behind, which is why he had to come out and say, like, hey, we don't do this, we don't have that. Like, okay, but why? Like, how can you be LSU with all these national titles in the recent history and not be able to, kind of tap into that fan fervor to get some money from the big guys?
All right, so LSU, according to this report from Ross Dellinger, spent $12 million on its football roster in the last 3 years combined. Ole Miss last year spent, according to this story, $13 million a year ago.
I wonder when that's going to actually pay off for them. Like, like the schools that like they go all in and then it pays off. I wonder what's the level of payoff for Ole Miss? Like, is the goal national championship?
I cannot. No. I think getting to the college football playoff on a fairly, not every year basis, but a consistent basis. Ole Miss football, look at their history.
No, that's why I ask. It's just because, like, they're obviously putting up money and they're competing. And so I wonder, not knowing the inside kind of flavor of how they all feel about it, of like, I know what it is now at LSU, like it's national championships because they won those. So I just wonder for a program like Ole Miss that's wanting to be in that club, but they're not in that club, what the end game looks like, and if it's like national championship or bust, or if it's just like, hey, make the CFP like 2 out of every 3 years and play for the SEC title.
I think that's the goal of most everybody. But
well, that's why I asked the question.
Yeah,
like, when you're pouring all this money in, what's your goal as Ole Miss? Because realistically, it's not winning the national championship because you haven't even come close to sniffing that. But I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
No, I like it.
I didn't realize it was $13 million. I don't know what the highest roster cost was a year ago, but I would think, like I said about the general manager position, and maybe I'm off a couple $100,000. I would think, yeah, you're going to have to be in that 10 to 15 million range, unless you're just really fortunate with somebody that like a Sawyer Robertson who didn't make a lot last year, and now he's getting a bunch of money for this year.
Okay, so Ole Miss has won 6 SEC conference titles
in their history.
47, 54, 55, 60, 62, and 63. So they have not won an SEC title since the Kennedy administration.
Yep. No, I think what Lane Kiffin has done there has made them, they're a top 15 or 20 top 25, but top 15 or 20 program. What would make it worth for them to be satisfied? I would say out of every 6 or 8 years during the college football playoff, 2 to 3 times.
So basically, Ole Miss has never won a post-segregation championship.
Yep.
No. Yeah, that's a good point.
So, I just wonder, you could ask the same question for like A&M, of just like you're pouring money and you're pouring money and you're pouring money. And you're like, okay, winning 10, for like Billy Liucci to be happy about the investments and the payoff, like what do you need to see? And you have to be realistic. It's not going to be a national championship every year. So like, what do you feel like is the payoff? Similar question to the same one with Ole Miss or any other program you want to put in there who's like not necessarily, winning natties regularly or if ever, but is pouring in the level of money and the resources that you would put forward to go and win those things. Like, what's the satisfactory baseline, I guess, was my question. But, yeah, I mean, that's great for them. That's great for LSU that they're putting in the money they feel like they need to or that they weren't putting in previously. So, really, Brian Kelly has no excuses, right? You've got all the money now, and you were the problem with that to sort of begin with. So, that's off the table. It's kind of like Dabo. Like, there's one less thing you can fire me for. But now it's like, well, yeah, now you have to win games. And in Dabo's case, he's done that over and over. Brian Kelly's won some games, but not to the level of where they're obviously satisfied down there. So I think it's a very interesting year for Brian Kelly and LSU that's coming up here.
Yeah, I'm going to say something just a second, Paul. On the $13 million, just take that number. Whatever LSU spends or whatever Alabama, Georgia, Texas, et cetera, Ohio State, it's not sustainable. I don't care how much more television revenue, college football playoff revenue, donor money, whoever you are that has money everywhere. I just don't know how that's sustainable to be able to do that year in and year out. And then you add in a general manager who's going to make $700,000 or more a year. And I just don't know. And this leads me to not Matt Brown saying that some of the bigger schools are going to just like say, hey, we're done. But I can see where that is part of that equation in the future for whoever decides to keep moving on.
Well, it's not our issue to worry about. It's the school's
That's
issues.
Exactly right.
And so whatever happens there. But I do think that it's sustainable for LSU to some degree. I think Texas is never going to worry about having a dollar in their pocket ever. Neither will A&M. Neither will Ohio State. I think Alabama's got to worry about it more than we probably realize. They're not just built of money. Oklahoma's not just built of money. Like, I think they'll always be able to find it. They'll always be able to flip over some magical couch cushion. But there is even a separation among the halves about like who has the money that never runs out. And I don't think LSU is one of those. But I think most of the schools like that, especially those in the SEC making the money they're making. They'll be fine ultimately every year. But yeah, some of the other non-Big Ten or SEC schools, I don't think they're going to be able to year in and year out be able to probably pony up $15 million. I would assume probably not for some of the smaller schools, but we'll see.
Man, you're talking $20 million for revenue.
But maybe you don't put that up to begin with anyways. Yeah. Maybe you're not ever putting up 13. You're putting up like 7 and saying like, we'll just see where we can go with this. Yeah. And then some years you've got the great quarterback and you're like, we're putting in 10, baby.
Yeah.
And rolling the dice. So not everybody will do that.
Well, I mean, look, I think sometimes it's going to have to be like a professional team now where some years, like you said, if you've got it and you can go for it, I'll use the Commanders right now. The Commanders are spending resources because they feel like they've got the people in place to win something for the first time in a very long time. And then you see some other teams that are, they'll, like, most owners will never come out and say, like, yeah, we got to kind of rebuild this because they got to sell tickets. No, like the Browns are never going to come out and say, like, hey, guys, you all know it's a mess. So what you do is you budget. You hope you hit well. You hope you make good decisions. You find bargains on those years, and you can continue to win. It's not Moneyball in the A's, but it's kind of like that. Right. And like where you're going to have some years where you can't go for it because, no matter how much you spend around, the key 3 or 4 pieces aren't in place.
All right. Florida State put a lot of money into their quarterback last year. Disaster, right? He wasn't the only reason, but if you miss, in the NFL, you can win 2 ways. By having a great elite quarterback or having a good quarterback, young quarterback who's really good but cheap.
Yeah, more or less, yes.
When was the last time, and you might mention, I don't know, when was the last time that
about once
a college football team won a national title with just a guy? I mean, Will Howard is not like an All-American, but he's a good player.
I would say all of Alabama's until they, the Greg McElroys and Brody Croyles and Jacob Cokers of the world, A.J. McCarron's. Or A.J. McCarron had a long NFL career. So, but, yeah, they had a lot of Jags at quarterback most of the time, but everybody else around them was so good.
Ohio State won with a third-string guy that hardly ever played until the end.
Ken Dorsey was just a guy.
Yeah.
He was just a guy, and he had the best team you could possibly imagine around him. So it happens more in college because it was easier to build around a Jag, right, than anywhere else. But I would say you're just going to have those years where, you go for it because you have the resources and you have those pieces in place, and then sometimes you may whiff on that, but – Florida State spent big on DJ Uiagalelei, but the reason that they had to go to DJ Uiagalelei is because they didn't want to meet Cam Ward's price. Now, he might have gone to Miami anyway, but it came right down to Miami was giving him more money.
Yeah, I think, again, it'll be the smaller schools that have to worry about that. I don't think LSU, with their nearly $20 million budget this year, is probably going to be able to do that every year, but I don't think they're ever going to be under 10. I think they'll always be probably, 10 to 15, but who knows? Maybe they're at 18 like this year, reportedly, every year from here on out. But, yeah, I mean, there's differences, guys. That's the main thing. There's differences, and it'll be, a case study, I guess, coming up to see who hangs around and who's consistently pumping in the same amount of money every year, and then who kind of drops off and comes back up the next year or whatever that looks like. We really don't know. But I think the last thing I'm going to do is worry about how much money some of these SEC and Big Ten schools have and whether they'll be able to hang or not. They're all going to be much better off than everyone else, that's for sure.
All right, so there we are with LSU, and they're going to put a ton of money. And, yeah, that ends any of the excuses that that they can use. And good for them. If you can, then do it. And if it works, that's even better. Good for you if you could make that happen. One other note, Dave Campbell, the longtime writer of the Waco Tribune. He was the sports editor for years, decades. Someone who helped cultivate incredible writers throughout the country. He passed away in recent years, and Greg Tepper, who now runs Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. It's a profound honor to follow in the footsteps of Mr. Campbell as the new editor-in-chief of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. Now, Dave Campbell, the reason he put that, Dave Campbell would have been 100 years old today. He lived into his 90s. But Dave Campbell, one of the nicest gentlemen you'll ever know, would have been 100 today.
So this is what I was confused by. So Greg's had this title, right?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Okay, that's what I was like, did he just get that today? Because I could have sworn he's had that for a while.
He's been running it. I just think that he was putting it out there because of his birthday.
Okay, that's what makes sense then. All right, well, yeah, I mean.
Matt Stepp, I think, is perhaps the one that put it out there first. A great writer and cover of high school football and many things, but today would have been his 100th birthday, and Greg, I think, just felt compelled to put that one up there when he was named the guy.
Well, in terms of those guys over there, I like Greg, and he was a guest on my show regularly back in the day, so really appreciate all the time he gave us back then. And, I mean, that's a cool just kind of memory of – or a good way to remember and honor the late, great Dave Campbell. So, yeah, keep up the good work, Greg, and Dave Campbell's certainly missed by a lot of people around here, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Great human being. Great Dave Campbell was. And
I got my membership renewal I get a magazine. We get a box of magazines every year that I bring to the studio. And then also a few other nice little nuggets that go with being in that membership as well. Dave Campbell, retired stockbroker, the Pope of Texas football.
Yeah,
very good.
That was certainly Dave Campbell.
Yep,
that's for sure.
Yep. Every year he had a dinner at one of the church he attended. He did like a round table, which was pretty. When you were invited to be a part of that and answer questions, that means that that you were accepted into the local sports media and or otherwise.
Well, thanks for making me realize that maybe we weren't as close as I thought we were because he never asked me.
You didn't go to that little.
Never once got asked.
Well, I don't think that means anything.
I mean, you just said it did.
That's
like 30 seconds ago.
That's what I was told.
I still love you, Mr. Dave. But
the NBA, man, that's really getting down to crunch time.
I think I was supposed to tell you one time, and I forgot to, and you were invited. I just never told you. Let's say that.
I can't. It's already the bee's already stung me, Smoak. Yeah. I mean, it's just how it is.
All right, I'm going to make a comment. The chat is fun. Kim Coulter's already trying to say, along with the Tech fans, that no one's giving them a shot. They're damn good. I will not be surprised if they're in the Final Four at all. Who cares about what happens with Arizona tonight? We love you, Tech fans. And Lubbock is among our top 10 cities of viewers. Among the top 10. Now, secondly, Scotty B, relax. Just kind of take a little bit of a deep breath and relax. Not everything is a negative when it comes to who you love as a college football program. All right? All right, Andrew Valade. We have a hockey guest today. Brent Severyn. He is the in-studio analyst for the Dallas Stars on Victory Plus. He was a part of the 99 Stanley Cup championship team. Garrett sent me questions. Andrew, who's a hockey phenom, sent me questions. And even my son-in-law, Daniel, sent me a couple of questions because he's gone to the Stars games with Jennifer. He'll be on with us today at around 4:20. We also will look at the Georgia Tech football schedule as we go through the ACC. We'll have Jared Sandler from Major League Baseball training camp at Arizona, and then Grayson Grundhoefer and Boise State head coach Spencer Danielson will join us today in the 4 o'clock hour. Have we pretty much wrapped up what was in the headlines mode? Oh, Auburn won today in the SEC tournament. They advanced. Michigan State advanced. They're in the top 10. Memphis beat Wichita State. Metal will be happy. And Tennessee and Texas right now are going at it. Tennessee up 3. What a run again by Rodney Terry and the Horns with that win. I got to say this, Paul. You're a lifelong A&M guy. I mean, seriously.
I couldn't get something down.
I mean, they had that 22-point lead earlier this year, and they couldn't finish it off. They did it last year in baseball. They took the Horns out and played for the national championship. Unfortunately, could not close out the series. What in the hell? They lost the game, and then it went into overtime. Texas is a cat with 9 lives with Rodney Terry as their head coach.
They are, and if you want to know, if you have Big Brother syndrome, if somebody says, "Hey, I think you have Big Brother syndrome," and you go, "No, I don't,"
yeah,
then you do. If somebody says you got Big Brother syndrome and you go, "Yeah, I'm working on it," then you're probably on your way out of it. But A&M has a complex about Texas that lives over the whole university. And no matter if it's football or basketball, and God in heaven, it's probably going to sneak into baseball this year because of Schloss. Yeah. I mean,
and because A&M's lost a lot early.
Yeah, yeah.
They lost their All-American third baseman, but
they brought back everybody else.
The last 2 times they played in football, the last game they thought they might ever play, Texas beats them in the last-second field goal, which they've done to many teams. And then the first time they've played since 2011 or 12, Texas gets on them early, and it's almost like they're stuck in
And the thing is that A&M in those games, both those football games and this basketball game, have opportunities to put them away.
Yeah.
Put them away or to change the game. Early in that Texas game in football this year, not yesterday, but like in the Texas game, in the football game this year, they had opportunities in the red zone early in the game. Make a play, it's a little bit different. And you know what happened? they couldn't do it.
No,
and
Texas,
part of it was Texas was just better.
Because their defensive line's as good as anybody in the NFL.
Your defense pretty much shuts them down, right? As far as like an offensive output and keeps it close. You get a pick six. How do you follow that up with nothing?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm joking about the choke thing because, I mean, you lost in double overtime. It wasn't like you missed like a free throw to win the game, but in general, it kind of feels that way. I mean, it does. I mean, they split the season series, and then Texas took the season series with that win yesterday because they had gone 1-1 against each other in the regular season. But that just feels like just a typical Texas A&M outcome right now of the Longhorns will find a way, or A&M will find a way to be like, here. I don't know. It's just the weirdest sort of thing, and this is only year one of them being in the same league together again, so who knows what the years to come will hold. But, I mean, Texas makes the CFP first year in the SEC, plays for the SEC championship. Now, granted, we're in the money era, so that makes things a lot easier as far as being a certain level of successful. But they both have as much money as anybody, so the battles between those two are going to be, I mean, as legendary as they were back in the day, but maybe even more trumped up just because the stakes feel so much higher. But, yeah, I mean, they're going to throw some haymakers at each other. It's just unfortunate for A&M right now that it seems like as much as baseball was thrilling last year, that was incredible. It just feels like Texas has landed a few more shots here recently when it comes to the bragging rights. And so we'll see if that continues or if maybe, next year in football, Mike Elko and company can do something about that, or maybe again this year in baseball. But, yeah, that was a brutal loss. And a great win for Texas.
And they had a dunk at the end of the game in regulation, I think, that would have won it, and they just flubbed it up. All right, coming up, we'll have Grayson Gruday for today. Then Boise State head football coach Spencer Danielson. He's been around the country. Ashton Jeanty is still getting some of that love from what he did as a football player at Boise State at a dinner last night. We'll have Spencer Danielson on what's going to be like life without Ashton Jeanty and more. Appreciate your time today. Again, when you're in the chat, if you haven't told us where you're from, we'd love to hear you. Give us that city, state, or even country. This is 365 Sports. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, used to be. 1 out of every 3 to 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone, including lack of energy. You're just not the same. You're lethargic. It's not like you have any kind of a cold or you're sick or COVID or anything. You just don't feel right. There's something missing. And testosterone level dropping can make you feel that way. Same thing when you hear about what's going on in the bedroom, ED, sex drive, or otherwise. Dr. Kent Petty can help you out. Located in Waco, you go to PettyClinicLowT.com. Tell him I sent you. And oh, by the way, he will then get you set up to give your blood. He gets the results. If the testosterone level's too low, he can give you a program, an option to increase your testosterone levels. Why would you not want to do that? PettyClinicLowT.com.
Month at Allen Samuels in Waco. Right now, drive home a 2025 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab or Ram Lone Star Crew Cab, both with massive $15,000 off MSRP. Looking for unbeatable value? Drive home a Ram 1500 Tradesman Quad Cab starting at just $35,995 or upgrade to a Tradesman Crew Cab for only $37,995. These deals won't last long. Hurry to Allen Samuels today.
Come by. Let's be friends.
hundreds of things that can affect our sleep. But what's affecting yours? Sleep Doctor's Home Sleep Test brings the precision of a sleep lab into the comfort of home to help you get answers and unlock a lifetime of great sleep. Start now at sleepdoctor.com/TV.
I'll never get used to this.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
All right, 365 Sports. If you do see that cookie cake in front of me, it is Craig's birthday tomorrow. Of course, we won't be here tomorrow, so we're having that today. We started that tradition back when we first went on the air, and it's been almost 5 years when we got to like our first 100 shows. Of course, now we've lost track of them. Not that we'll ever say, it doesn't matter anymore. It always matters. But Craig's birthday is tomorrow, and a lot of people in the chat are saying happy birthday to you, the young Smoak. And I've said I appreciate that. I do feel younger right now.
Yes, well, thank you, chat. Appreciate each and every one of you. And I am already having a pretty good start to the birthday weekend, I guess you can say. It's tomorrow, as you mentioned, but already kind of feeling the love from chat and from others. So thank you very much. Appreciate it, and cheers.
All right, there we go. Grayson Grundhafer joins us. Sikkim365.com. He joins us on the show as he does most every Friday. Grayson, spring football's what? Come back from spring break and then get close to getting into things at Baylor?
That certainly is what we all believe to be the case, and that's normally what it is. But still no official date has been set yet. My guess is next week will kind of be a little bit of a, break week coming off of spring break. And then I'm guessing it'll be that following week is when things start getting ramped up. But again, nothing official quite yet has been announced, but I think that week is probably the most likely one that's going to be targeted.
You never know, because they've been kind of a yo-yo, 2-7, 12-2, 6-7, 3-9. Then last year that surged to end up 8-4 to 8-5 and the loss to LSU. So you would think that the history has said that they will trend downward. I don't get that impression. I surely don't expect that at all this year.
I certainly don't either. And, I'm actually going to have an article on Sikkim 365 coming out next week as we kind of transition into football from basketball. And it kind of speaks to that. And I think a lot of what we saw from this Baylor team last year was just the thriving offense towards the end of the season just really take off. And then when you look at kind of what Baylor returns, the production, the amount of players on the offensive line, a starting quarterback, really good playmakers. When you look at Bryson Washington, Josh Cameron, Ashton Hawkins, Michael Trigg, there's this foundation that is there because of how many guys they're bringing back that really makes you feel very comfortable that the offense is going to be really, really good. And I think it's also important to mention, this is Jake Favsaw's second year. This is Mason Miller's second year. This is Keenan Hall's second year. A lot of these guys, they had that first year, and it took some time, obviously, early in the season. And then it all came together. So really, I don't think there's any reason to think that they might not be able to take a step forward, right? And Jay Spavital, I know, talking to Colt Barber and I during the season, mentioned that, his best offenses typically take off in year number 2. And so I'm very curious about that and see what direction it goes in. This is a team that averaged nearly 40 points per game through the last 7 weeks of the season, including that bowl game. And so there's a lot of expectations, I think, and those expectations, like you said, they feel right based on kind of where Baylor is at and what they have returning. And now if the defense takes a step forward, that's where you start talking about potentially winning a Big 12 championship or making it to the college football playoff. Because if that happens, it really feels like things could definitely come together for this team this season.
Grayson, we went through the schedules of every Big 12 team. Now we're on to the ACC. But going through Baylor's a couple weeks ago, they didn't get the toughest possible schedule they could have, but they're not really done any favors by it. I mean, Auburn, SMU, and Arizona State are 3 of the first 4 games. Do you kind of feel like we'll know who this team is really, really early as opposed to last year when we found out who they were late?
We definitely will. And I think last year it was interesting because, their team, well, really it was just their schedule looked so much more difficult in the second half of the season. And then it turned out that really the first half of the season was when they played the best teams they were going to face. When you look at BYU and Colorado, and of course, they unfortunately had to play Utah when Cam Rising was, not hurt, which was rare. No one else really had to deal with that. And so, I think this schedule definitely will test them early on. And as you mentioned, going through Baylor's schedule versus the rest of the Big 12, I mean, Baylor's kind of holding the Big 12 up with these non-conference games. I mean, you look throughout the conference, and there are a lot of teams that are scheduling no one in the non-conference. And I know this is scheduled years in advance, but, I mean, frankly, some of these schedules are pretty embarrassing. What some of these teams are scheduling in their non-conference, especially compared to what Baylor is scheduling when you're talking about an SEC team. And then, of course, the team that was in the college football playoff last year on the road. I mean, that is really a daunting task. And you mentioned their first conference game of the season is against the team that won the Big 12 last year. So, we're going to know a lot very soon. And also don't forget, they play at Oklahoma State and then they play K-State, who is right now one of the top 3 teams per, betting odds for the conference. So a lot in that first 6 weeks that's going to determine a lot of things for Baylor. And I think it'll answer a lot of questions that we have about this team as well.
So on the hardwood out in Kansas City, the men's basketball team saw their tournament run come to a close against Texas Tech in a thrilling loss. I don't know that losses are thrilling, but you get the point there. An exciting finish to that game. They come up short after being down in a hole early on. Grayson, March Madness is next. Anyone's guess right now or projection as to where they land and who they play and all of that. But how you feeling this week about Scott Drew and Baylor men's basketball?
I mean, I think that their performance against Texas Tech was an encouraging one. And of course, beating Kansas State was another one that I think, again, it solidified things in my eyes about them being a tournament team without a doubt. I think they're going to be in the NCAA tournament. Question is, what will their seeding look like? I think as of right now, my projection would probably be a 10 seed. That seems to be the most likely outcome at this moment. But, watching Baylor over these last couple of days, I think it's apparent that they're still playing hard. It's apparent that, there's still a buy-in from the team, from most of the team. And I think, getting to see a performance like they had against Kansas State where they played a complete game, which really hasn't been the norm for this team. And then they go face Texas Tech, and Tech makes 10 threes in the first half or whatever it was. And then you're fighting this uphill battle, and they just kept fighting. And I think that's great to see as you get ready to go into March Madness and go into an NCAA tournament, because I do think if this team does catch a team sleeping, then there's a chance that, maybe they fight long enough, or if a team, gets ahead of them, they've shown the ability to come back in some of those games. They've also been blown out a few times, but I just think in general it speaks to just this team not giving up, Scott Drew's culture that he's instilled. I think all of that was very apparent in that Texas Tech game versus a Tech team that is really pretty good this year. They're a good team, and I think Baylor competed really well. Norchad O'Meara had a just astounding game. I mean, he was so good in this game, and he's been so consistent for Baylor all year long. They're going to need more from him, and they're going to need more from really everyone. They're going to need Langston Love to actually play. He didn't play in the Texas Tech game. They really are going to need everything to come together if they want to make any sort of noise come tournament time, and really any sort of noise would be just getting out of first round. But we'll see if they're able to do that. I think the fight, though, is something that I was at least intrigued by because there's not much they can do schematically anymore. Their roster's kind of set. It's really just going to come down to, how much fight do these guys have and if they can just get hot at the right time.
So what you're saying is, like, basically the one plan has to work.
Exactly. And I think, maybe people who, love, I love basketball. It's always been my number one sport, my favorite sport to watch and to play. And it's just really hard when you don't have the roster to do certain things or to make certain adjustments or to change up personnel. When you don't have the options available to you to be flexible, be versatile, it's really hard to change up the things that you've done all year. And so, they might be able to run their zone, but again, their zone doesn't work as well as it has in the past because they're not as athletic. They're not as long on the perimeter. They can play man-to-man defense, but they end up having to switch everything, which is terrible against a team with a really, really good big. If they end up not switching things, then their guards get eaten up off the pick and roll and the screens from not having the size or the physicality or the athleticism. So when you look at all of those things, it's really like if you face the wrong matchup, it's going to be really hard for this team to make any adjustments in game to really ruin a team's rhythm. And I think we've seen that at times this year, which is kind of why I truly believe this team is going to have to score the basketball really well come March time and come the tournament, and they're going to have to get hot. That's just the reality of it. And to be honest, anytime you're a 8, 9, 10, 11 seed, that's pretty much what you need to happen, right? You need teams that are better than you to have off games, and you have to be able to get hot. And to me, that's really the only way that this happens for Baylor, because again, I just don't see many adjustments that they can make that could really change things for them based on what we've seen so far this year.
Grayson, thank you very much. Appreciate your time as always on Fridays. Grayson Grundhoefer joins us, Sikkim365.com on many things was happening with Baylor, but also within the Big 12. If you did a power structure, would it go right down the line? By the way, Spencer Danielson, Boise State is next. Would it be your power structure with the Big 12 of who goes deepest be almost chalk? Would it be Houston? Would it be Tech? Would it then be Arizona and also BYU of those four? Which order? And, of course, there's someone that could sneak in possibly if Iowa State can somehow get healthy.
Yeah, there's nobody who's going to...
Give me your four in order. Make the deepest run.
Houston, Tech, BYU, and Arizona.
Okay. Craig?
What? Sorry, I was listening to a video real quick. My bad.
If you took the teams who are going to make the NCAA tournament and took 4 of the 6, 7, or 8 in the Big 12, what order would you put them in? Who would be your 1 through 4 that will make the deepest run? Would it be almost chalk the way it is now?
Yeah, I think so. Trying to think of the order.
Paul said Houston, Tech, BYU, and Arizona.
I mean, yeah, I think that's about what we said at the start of the show, and I certainly don't have any further insight to make a great case that it should be Iowa State instead or whatever.
I
so yeah, I think it's probably just chalk. As somebody who's probably not the greatest basketball expert out there.
All right, when we come back, Spencer Danielson, head coach at Boise State. We appreciate you being a part of the show today, and this is 365 Sports. The Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in the Brazos River in Waco. They're continuing to have so many specials as they run through this early part, I guess, as we get closer into the spring, and including the bite, what's cooking at the club. Thursday pickup. If you have dinner you would like to order at the Baylor Club, they will have it there for you. They'll partially cook it for you and then refrigerate it. You take it home and then have yourself really a fantastic meal. It's Friday, so it is steak and lobster night tonight at McLean Stadium or the Baylor Club inside the stadium. Tomorrow night, prime rib, and of course you can get whatever you want with that, all the sides, etc. Spectacular. $3 draft beer, $5 house wine, $6 house cocktails, and $4 house wine. It's Mike Mosel, the general manager. Tell him that you watch, view, listen to, or participate as a part of 365 Sports, and there are specials for you when it comes to either a possibility of a nice little change when it comes to the initiation fee, and most likely something that they also will have for you, a free meal or something like that. Mike Mosel, the great staff, the Baylor Club, inside McLean Stadium on I-35 in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Been interesting to follow some of the videos that have come out of Colorado as they are, of course, everybody reconvening and get ready for what they do during spring drills whenever, if it already has or will start. Marshall Faulk had a nice talk. They had Denzel Washington on a video screen. I don't know if it was yesterday or 3 days ago, whenever it is, but I saw them post that up there. And, of course, I'm a huge Denzel Washington fan. And it was cool to hear him and talking to the team. So you're getting some of those pep talks, then you'll get some of them during as you get back or during the summer. So that was pretty cool. Denzel Washington speaking to the Colorado football team. recently. Also, basketball update, and I want to get to those two games that are going on right now. Tennessee up 5 early in the second half against Texas. Tennessee, of course, at some point this year, number one, they'll be a very high seed. Wisconsin took care of UCLA. We mentioned Auburn beating Ole Miss by 5, and Michigan State points over Oregon, Memphis winning. Last night, in a game I believe I was asleep, but I may have seen the score and said, this one's over. Oklahoma trailed Kentucky, I want to think by like 9 or 10, and there was like a minute and 15 or 20 seconds left. And Kentucky just blanked all over themselves. Absolutely. One turnover after another. Oklahoma hit a couple of threes. Oklahoma actually took the lead, then Kentucky scored at the wire to win that game in what was one of the more exciting games yesterday in the NCAA, or in the conference tournament games that came out of Thursday night or during the day on Thursday. Let's see here. Remember we had the AAC, and they mentioned that they wanted teams in their conference to average a $10 million in benefits over 3 years. I saw a columnist that wrote about this. That still doesn't seem to be very much to me. I know the American doesn't get what the 4 power schools get or power conferences get, but that still didn't seem to be very much to me. Craig, was that a number that was a little bit low to you?
I mean, no, because I've never really considered it or thought about it very much, what they were getting or anything like that. So, I mean, interesting note about the Oklahoma game. I was a former Sooner who busted them again in Oway, but that was a very entertaining and exciting game to watch there at the conclusion. I think the SEC is obviously going to pack the tournament. I'm very curious to see during Selection Sunday of what the spread-out nature of their seeds look like and what kind of pass some of those top teams will have in front of them. But there's going to be a lot of rematches, one would think, and a lot of opportunity to have a good chunk of the Elite Eight. And I don't know, I've seen the conversation I'm sure you all have about, well, they have the entire Final Four, depending on how the tournament brackets put together. I think that is probably not good odds, because that just seems like such a impossible thing to accomplish. But, I mean, they're going to have enough teams to be able to do it. I mean, they're going to have multiple teams in every single region. And so Kentucky, had the old Scott Drew flirtation and pursuit last year. I think it's worked out really well for them. The direction they ended up going, especially when you probably as a Kentucky fan look at Baylor right now and go like, shoot, man, we made the right call. We got the better coach right now. We'll see in the long term if they win a national championship. But obviously that opened the door for BYU to get Kevin Young, and that's worked out really well for them.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, the whole Mark Pope dominoes I think has worked out for everybody but Baylor somehow, even though they were the ones that were bragging out. But it worked out for them. Big picture, just not this
everybody
year.
Won.
Yeah, everybody won.
Yeah.
So that's great that everybody could actually be okay with the end result. But, I think the SEC and the NCAA tournament, after all the talk we've heard over the last few months, will be really interesting, because now it's one of those things where, like with the Big 12 the last couple of years, you claim to be and arguably could say that you are the best conference, but ultimately all that matters is hoisting it up. And, if you get 16 teams or 14 teams in the tournament, one of y'all better win that damn championship, or I don't want to hear anything about best league in America, because you got 14 cracks at it and you got that many good teams. Somebody better be hoisting that bad boy, and if they don't, that's going to be quite the story, because really the entire story of the college basketball season, from somebody who views it from a little farther out than probably most people, all I feel like I've heard all year long is how great the SEC is.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to see how it all turns out now that we're in, win or go home style fashion. I mean, as to your question about the American, I mean, I don't know. I'm not real keen on the whole money conversations at a certain point. So, I mean, it sounds low, I guess, but I really don't know what they're dealing with. I don't really have a real solid opinion on it. But, when we're talking about LSU with $18 million from this booster they went and, poked at and said, hey, we need some more money for, then for the American, they're already starting off behind the 8 ball, and that's only going to be a bigger chasm when you add all of the different pieces of the pie together. So, yeah, that's low, I guess, but I don't really know what else to expect for them.
Yeah, I think that, A, to your question on $10 million, I mean, it's low. You know why it seems low? Because that's the baseline, Smokey. That's the minimum that they have to. So that's why it's low. Doesn't mean that they're all just going to spend 10. Some of them might spend 15.
You spend 25 if you want to. I mean,
but you have to at least spend 10. It's kind of the other thing you don't really have this, but like in baseball, they have the luxury tax, and they have the luxury tax, which the teams at the top don't really like because it means that teams like the A's can do whatever they want and make money.
Right.
So. But this ensures that you're going to be competitive in the conference and not just, take the money in and be like, oh, well, we're not doing it.
You want to compete, then you got to prove that you can compete. That's why the ACC's whole thing is, well, we need to see that. Yeah. I hate to pick on the usual suspects, but who's typically towards the bottom when you're like Wake Forest. That's where our brains always go, right? Like with Vanderbilt in the SEC. But you got to ensure that Wake's doing their part and Boston College is actually trying to compete and whatever. So, a minimum of $10 million I don't think is asking too much. And if you can't hang, then guess what, buddy? You don't belong here. I mean, if you can't swing $10 million a year, then you really don't have a place here anymore. And I think that sucks that it's become that. But, I mean, are they not putting in that amount of money usually all told? I don't know. I mean, where do they snip a little bit if they have to do that, or where do they go? Well, whose pockets do they go dig into? I don't know, but that's part of playing big boy ball now at this point. So if you can't come up with that type of money, then you're just gonna have to go play a different game and go join some of those schools who maybe are a little bit apprehensive and don't feel like they're going to be able to do this year in and year out. There will be an exit ramp for schools like that, and I hope none of them are in the American. But, if you can't swing that, then there will be an exit. You just won't play in the same kind of stratosphere as everybody else anymore.
Okay, I tell you what I want to do. I want to play a little bit of producing here. Craig, you're about to do Richard Carr. I'm getting ready to get on the phone during a break and call the Boise State Media Relations. And we have Brent Severyn, a former star Stanley Cup champion hockey player. He's now an in-studio host for Victory Plus, covering them now. We have him, and it's pretty close, those timelines. So,
let's take the break.
All right, calling now.
Oh, he's calling now.
Okay, calling.
Okay.
Calling right now. So, listen, I'm glad we didn't take the break. Okay. And so Spencer Danielson will join us here in just a second. What will be interesting about the 68-team field, and this is something we can discuss at another time too, especially next week, is you mentioned how they place them. Because you can place 14 teams and spread them out enough to where you have a chance to get 6 or 8 teams into the second weekend. That means you still might lose 6 games, but you have 14 in it. Will be interesting if they keep the seeding the way it was if you took away the names of the teams who were in the tournament, which that led to last year, the Ohio State game in a second-round game against the team that was number 1 in the country most of the year in Oregon in a rematch, which they did not pull punches there. Now, can they do that in the NCAA men's tournament? I am not sure about that. So that will be fun to see when they place the seeding. Sunday evening, they'll have all that, and then we'll have plenty of coverage on the NCAA tournament starting on our show on Monday. We are now joined by Boise State football coach Spencer Danielson on 365 Sports with Craig and Paul, and I'm David Smoak. Coach, thank you very much for your time. When you look at where Boise State is after you're a part of the playoff and you played really well, and Ashton Jeanty getting all the attention, it's not the first time Boise has had success. Where would you say the program is now, in your opinion?
Yeah, God is good, man. We're in a good place, just like anything. And I tell our staff it's no different. Like we've had a lot of success over the past couple decades. Proud of what our team did last year. Now it's our job to continue to push it forward into even new heights. But I think we're in a really good place. And I think just like anything, you don't need to sell people on hope. You can show them what you've done, and now you got to find ways to do it better. And that's what I'm excited about, and focus on the process and making sure it doesn't take 10 years to get back to the next Fiesta Bowl. And that's what gets us fired up to come to work every day.
So you are approaching life without Ashton Jeanty, which I know is sad for everybody in Boise. But the other side of that coin is you could not have picked a better representative for the university and people to look and say, like, oh, wow. So the next stars like Ashton Jeanty are now there. Is that the yin and the yang you're dealing with now? And, he's gone, but now you probably have a new interest that you didn't have before.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just like anything, Ashton Genty's left a legacy of Boise State that'll ring for decades to come. I believe that. And there's guys that are coming to Boise State because they watched Ashton, and they want to be the next, or they want to be different like he was. They want to leave a legacy. I mean, just like anything, I miss him. I remember the first time we had practice and he wasn't out there. I called him, and you just miss him. He's had such an impact on my life and on our team's life, and he's just such a phenomenal young man that every moment you're around him, he impacts people. But we're excited to keep moving on. There's guys in our program that some people don't know about that they will. And they've been kind of buying their time, working their tail off. And now as people graduate and move on, just like Ashton, I'm excited for the next guys to step up. And for us, we're such a big high school focused recruiting team. There's some young high school kids that have been working, training, maybe people don't know about, but I believe they will here soon.
In line with recruiting and things like that, I know sometimes when you have success, it might take a little while to see the sort of returns of that, but are you seeing early returns now when you're on the recruiting trail, or you're talking to boosters, or you're just even talking to the media? Have you kind of felt the effects of that run you guys already went on last year? Yeah, we absolutely have, guys, and so thankful, and I give God all the glory for it. I mean, I'm so proud of where our team is and what our guys were able to do last season, and so you can feel it from the support. I mean, Bronco Nation, our fan base, I believe, is second to none. I mean, the support they have, the excitement they have for next season because of what happened this past year, the amount of, recruits now that want to be a part of this, because they've been able to see Boise State in a light that maybe they hadn't seen for the past couple of years, that you can truly have it all at Boise State. You want to go play in the playoff? We've done it. You want to get a chance to win the Heisman? You can do that here. And when they come on campus, then my focus is making sure they know that if you come here, I truly believe we will build you to be a champion on and off the football field. But the draw is there because of the success we had last season, and excited for it to continue to go.
He just picked up, and we knew he had won the Maxwell Award, but he was just at that. Was that like the last time you'll see him for a while as he gets ready for the draft, or is he working out in Boise, or is it in Florida, wherever, and what was that like?
Yeah, so I'm actually just about to see him here in about 15 minutes for the actual Maxwell Award ceremony. Good. So I flew out to Georgia today. So I'm going to see Ash here in about 15 minutes, and just can't wait to see him. I mean, I love him dearly. He's like a son to me. So we're going to get some time here, and then he's going to come out to our pro day at the end of the month to work out for, obviously, all the NFL scouts and be able to showcase his skills there. And then I'm going to see him at the NFL draft. So those are kind of the next really couple moments that we're going to get time together, and looking forward to every bit of it.
You guys are returning 7 starters on each side of the ball, right? Or 7 guys who did start at different times. Is that a nice jumping off point for the spring, given especially how rosters can turn over? You could have 22 new starters in today's college football if the wheel of destiny spins the wrong way to you.
No, there's no doubt. There's so much attrition in college football, and that's why I'm so proud of our staff, so proud of our players. I mean, we didn't lose any staff members this offseason. So you can hit the ground running fast, and a lot of them had opportunities to get other jobs. They wanted to continue to be a part of this. No different for our players. We got a really good group coming back. We obviously have some needs to fill, and there's some guys that I can believe step into those roles. So I think we're in a good place and being able to hit the ground running. But just like anything, everybody at this time of year is talking about how great a season they're going to have. I don't think there's any coach in America in March is talking about a bad year is coming for them. So it's our job to focus on our process and make sure that when the ball gets put down in September, we're ready to roll. And that's what you love about what we do.
Coach, I'm sure you've seen the various articles, comments by guys like Matt Rule about spring football and just various reasons why they're either not doing spring games or why things are just changing compared to maybe spring football of yesteryear. Have you approached spring ball differently? Is there anything you're looking to do that's maybe not as traditional, or is it pretty much just status quo as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, guys, we haven't changed much. I've done a lot of research to make sure, I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to be stuck in my ways, for lack of better words, but I believe in how we do things. And, we're going to have a spring game. I want our guys to compete in front of our fans and be able to have a day with their fans at the end of it. Like, that matters to me. And I also want to see our guys. I don't want it the first time some of our players that haven't played a lot, the first time they play in front of fans is when the nation's watching, game one. So I think there's just so many benefits to it. And so we're staying, very true to our model, obviously trying to continue to find ways to grow and evolve. But at Boise State, really try to focus on being built different, not just for the sake of being different, but because I think everyone sometimes tries to fit in a mold that, okay, this is what college football is going, so you need to do these things, this is how you need to recruit, or this is how you need to handle spring ball. And for me, I'm like, no, if we believe in something, we're going to be different. We're going to do common things in an uncommon way. And one of those is spring ball. We're going to do it a little bit different. We're going to stay true to it. We're going to have, multiple live scrimmages. We're going to have a spring game. Our guys are going to compete. And when we're done with spring ball, we're going to have a really good idea of our 2 deep going into summertime.
What was the moment like? You had been on the Boise State staff, but when there was a change and you got the job in November of 2023, which was not long ago, what was that moment like for you that it was your first head coaching opportunity?
Oh, fellas, it was a moment I'll never forget. You're going about your business. I was the defensive coordinator, and you're planning on, getting ready to play another game, and then, head coach gets let go, and right away you're put in a situation that you hadn't been thinking about. Mm-hmm. And did a lot of praying. I said, Lord, I trust you, and I made a lot of calls to guys I trust. Chris Peterson's a huge mentor of mine, and a couple others that I called and said, man, what's the best way to do this? And so went right to work, and our staff did the same. Our players did the same. And at that point, we had 2 games left in the season, and all I did was tell them, guys, I need 2 weeks. At the end of that, coaches are going to have to find jobs. Players, you guys might leave in the portal. I don't know how this is going to go, but grown men finished what they started, and we got 2 weeks together. And, man, I was so proud of those guys. I mean, they went to work. Our coaches weren't getting their resume ready. They were getting ready to go win a game, and were able to go win 2 straight and then win a Mountain West championship and was able to get the job the next day. And just so thankful. I thank Jesus for those moments, and it's a dream job for me.
You guys are transitioning conferences after this year and moving into the Pac-12. Does that change anything of your pursuit, or is that more right now just administrative thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we've been operating as a power program for a while. We get really good support. Our fan base, or fill in the blank. But I think just where college football is evolving to, you need to continue to fight and scratch to put yourself in on the national stage. And a lot of times that is the conference you're in. So especially as a West Coast school, with the Pac-12, knowing that they were going to make a move. I know our AD, Jeremiah Dickey, does a phenomenal job making that jump. Just with anything, there's going to be unknowns. There's going to be hard things when you step out and challenge yourself, and change is hard. But we're very, very excited. Like, I believe in what that conference is going to be. I believe in the teams that are there. And honestly, I'm sure there's going to be a couple other teams once there's a lot of success in the Pac-12 that starts in 26 that will want to join as well. So really excited about it. In regards to the day-to-day changes, not much. Just like anything, it's a schedule. We play, obviously, we played Washington State, Oregon State, and almost all the schools in the new Pac-12 last season, and we're really successful. So we got an idea of what that's going to look like competition-wise. But I think in the long run, just for our program, for recruiting, from the media side of things, it's going to be, a huge deal for us going forward.
The college football playoff 12, you guys got a bye in the first round, and obviously you didn't win your opening game, but still you were in it, and it was fantastic to see you in it, Arizona State in it. We've seen Cincinnati or TCU get in that the 4. In fact, TCU eventually got blown up by Georgia, but they beat Michigan in the semifinals. Do you feel like that the expansion is going to help schools that are not a part of that so-called country club, or make it more difficult?
I think it's awesome, guys. I really do. And not just because I'm the head coach at Boise State, but I think for college football in general, what I felt last season is every game was a playoff game for us. I mean, we knew we lose on a last-second field goal to Oregon game 2, and everybody in our locker room knew we cannot lose another one. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not in question. And so every week you're about that. And that's similar for a lot of schools around the country, is instead of only giving opportunities for maybe the 4 and those coming from certain conferences, I think it just opened it up for everybody knew the rules going into last season, how to give themselves an opportunity to make the playoff. And then as a competitor, all you want is an opportunity. All you want is a shot. And then you want to go out and be able to earn it. And I'm proud of our team doing that. I think that opens it up and makes college football more exciting for the fan experience. I think it makes it more exciting for teams. And I think it's something that's going to continue to keep our game in the spotlight that it needs to be.
Spencer Danielson, head coach at Boise State, with us on 365 Sports. The fact that you got as much publicity as you did with Ashton, but also with your run. Jeremiah Dickey, we know him well. He was here under Mack Rhodes. What is that value? Is it priceless what you got the last couple of months of the season or even during the season or afterwards?
It's absolutely priceless. I mean, and me and Jeremiah Dickey have talked, and I'm going to be open about, Jeremiah Dickey, I believe in. I think he's the best athletic director in the country, and I'm not saying that just because he's my boss. I mean, you talk about a guy that anything we need, it's always going to be, we'll figure it out. We'll find a way. How can we do this together? I mean, the support I feel as the head coach and the amount of hurdles that I know he has to go through on a daily basis, but never loses stride, never loses confidence. And that feeling as a head coach, you can't put a price tag on that. And then especially what was, through November, the Mountain West Championship game, those moments for our university are priceless. I mean, we win the Mountain West Championship game against UNLV. Fox is on campus. We storm the field after winning the game. ESPN is in our building all day on Sunday for the selection show. I mean, those moments have the opportunity to change everything. And that's what I told JD after. I'm like, JD, we just changed everything, and we're going to push this to new heights because these moments are catalysts for that.
Last thing, and I know, and tell Ashton, we had him on multiple times throughout the last couple of 2 or 3 years. Tell him we said hi at 365 Sports. What are your thoughts about the automatic buys? And should Boise State and others still get an opportunity to be a part of that? Do you feel like they're trying to squeeze, not you out of the playoff, but out of that first round automatic, or at least automatic bid, and get the buy?
Yeah, good question. I've been asked that a lot, guys, and just like anything, to me, when everybody knows what the rules of engagement are, as a competitor, it's your job to go out and do it.
Yep.
Everybody knew to start the season, conference champions, whoever were the top four in that situation, were going to get buys. Like that's what it was. It wasn't like that was something that happened later on. But I think you have to put a premium on winning your conference championship. If you take that away, at some point now winning your conference championship becomes less, which I don't think it should. I think that's such a huge part of college football. Winning your conference championship is every FBS team's goal and should be. And then in addition to that, then you get an opportunity to have a bye in the college football playoff. To me, it makes a lot of sense, not just saying that because we were able to go through it. But I think whatever it is, as long as there's clear rules for it, then us as competitors, us as coaches, we got to go out and do the work and earn the right to in that bye or at least make the college football playoff. So I like the model. If it changes, as long as it gives every team in the country an opportunity, if they handle business to be in the playoff or have that opportunity, that's what I care about.
I love that you said, tell us the rules. We will figure it out. We know what we have to get done, so let's go do it. I love that. Thank you very much, Spencer. Thanks for your time. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys. Been looking forward to chatting with you guys. God bless you.
Yes, sir. Spencer Danielson, head coach at Boise State, 36 years old. And he's got a lot of good things going on right now in Boise State. Moves on with life without Ashton Jeanty. A lot of teams have moved on without great running backs or players, and they will, and I think they'll be just fine.
He's 9 years younger than me and 5 years younger than Craig. So Craig and I could now be like, oh, look, he's just a pup at 36. Wet behind the ears.
He's a hell of a coach.
No, he's a great coach. He's got a great future. And, we're like – I'm just as biased about Jeremiah Dickey as he is because he's our buddy. We've known him for a long time. I think he's great. I think that he's doing great things, going to continue to do great things at Boise State.
Good stuff. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And also the opportunity to talk with the head coach at Boise State. And we love Ashton Jeanty. I've seen him picked as high as like 5 or 6 in the upcoming draft, depending on who it's to. And good luck to him, too.
Look, the 11 teams that pick in front of the Cowboys should know that if you pick him, he will go on a crime spree and you won't want him anymore, and that he's a bad guy. And what else false can I make up about him?
I don't know. I'd be walking the line of defamation here pretty quick.
I know. I just don't. Like, they make up lines like, oh, his feet are going to fall off. No. Like, that's what they, can I get Nico Harrison to write something about him? I don't know.
No one would be stupid enough to hire that guy.
I guess so.
Except for Mark Cuban, apparently.
But,
all right, Paul. You've made it clear.
I want him so badly in Dallas.
Okay, well,
so badly.
I want to be around you when he goes 5 or 6 to
I'm gonna
Vegas or whoever it might be. I haven't looked at the order quite that often. When we come back, Brent Severyn, he was a part of the 99 Dallas Stars Stanley Cup championship team. He's now a part of Victory Plus and a studio analyst for Stars Hockey. He's next. This is 365 Sports.
Richard Carr Motors has been serving Central Texas for 26 years, and right now they are celebrating those 26 years with their anniversary sale savings event, and they got a lot of different offers over on the lot right now. For example, qualified non-GM owners can save $4,500 on a 2025 brand new Buick Encore GX. $4,500 for qualified non-GM owners on the new 2025 Buick Encore GX. They've also got the car and driver's editor's choice from the Buick line, the all-new Buick Envista. It's in stock right now, and it sits at under $24,795. The all-new Buick Envista in stock right now, under $25K over at Richard Carr. You can go by the dealership, give them a call, check out the website, richardcarr.com, to get more information and more details. But they are locally owned, locally run, and they are celebrating 26 years of business in the Waco area. So do business in Waco with a dealership who gives back to the community. Deal with people you can count on right now and take advantage of their great anniversary savings deals at Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac.
Allen Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget, from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Allen Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560, or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
Brent Severyn, he's part of that Stars 99 Stanley Cup championship team, part of Victory Plus, the streaming of Dallas Stars that is available. And again, he's a studio analyst when the Stars do play, and they have been on a tremendous run and picked up a huge trade when they picked up Mikko Rantanen, and we'll have many questions for him on the Stars. And Andrew, let me know he's ready. We have Brent Severyn. He joins us now on 365 Sports. Hello, how are we doing?
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. We sure can. We appreciate your time. The Stars, obviously, it's like Dallas, 1 or 2 teams at the very, very top. Then they pick up the trade with Rantanen. How much of a juice did they need, and how much does he give them?
Well, if you think about a player, a prototypical NHL player that is built for playoffs, you look at Mikko Rantanen, you look at his size, you look at his skill, his ability to protect the puck. In playoffs, you have to have this extra edge along the boards in front of the net. It's nasty, it's gritty, it's tough. And then on top of it, you add this unbelievable skill level for a guy who's only 28 years old. And as you just showed, he's a guy that's won a Stanley Cup before, so the pedigree is there. So Jim Nill went out and did an amazing job. So it's exciting for the Dallas Stars and for the people that watch, for all of us that understand what it takes to win a Stanley Cup. This is the guy that makes the team better, gives it even more depth to it, and gives it a better opportunity to win a Stanley Cup. So we're a little jacked up over here in Stars Land.
Oh, I mean, you should. And do you feel like in any way that helps soothe Dallas sports fans after they lost Luka to the Lakers and the Stars end up getting a superstar player to give them the boost?
Yeah, it's obviously going to help, right? And you saw what happened with basketball and the pushback from it. And that's the thing with Jim Nill. He will always do what is right for the club. When you look at this guy's contract, it's close to $100 million that he invested in this player for many years. He's only 28, Mikko is, but he's a guy that for a lot of years he's going to help this club. So Jim Nill went out. He gave up a big piece in Logan Stankoven, who was a great kid, an outstanding player that we hope will be a superstar for his sake. They have to give him up as well as some draft picks, but they do that. They make their team better. And even judging by practice the other day, the amount of fans that were out, the people that are watching Victory Plus, they understand what an opportunity it is for the Stars and what they put together. Problem is, there's other teams like the Winnipeg Jets tonight. See how I segued into that? Winnipeg Jets, who may be just as deep, just as good, and have the pedigree to go head-to-head with the Stars in the Western Conference.
So they're leading them right now in the division, Brent. Do you see this now as, especially with the Stars 8-2 in their last 10, picking up Mikko, like those kind of momentum things, is this going to be back and forth maybe for the next month between the two teams, the way they're both stacked?
Well, here's the deal with the distance that the Jets have. I believe it's 8 points right now. Tonight is a huge game. I believe that the winner of this game tonight, and if the Stars come up and can get a little closer in the standings, they have a real good opportunity of catching them. But I believe if the Winnipeg Jets win tonight on Victory Plus, that is, if they win tonight, then I think they've created a big gap. And it's difficult as it is for the Stars to get the number one seed in the Western Conference as it is. But if they win today, they have another crack at them too as well. But if they win today, at least they make that gap closer and they have an opportunity to catch them. If they don't do it, I think it's done, and the Stars are going to have to take a lesser seed when you look at the Winnipeg Jets.
Brent, for a moment, I want to go off topic of the Stars, but very much with hockey, because I was thinking back to the Four Nations and how that just kind of set the world on fire a few weeks back. And there was obviously some unique circumstances that were going on in the world that added some more fuel to what was already a fire. But just what were your thoughts on that? I know it's not a yearly thing, but do you feel like it's something that can be capitalized on? And do you think the NHL's had some momentum they've been able to carry over from all that attention?
Yeah, especially here in the United States. You know, in Canada, where I'm from, it's that's all we do is watch hockey all the time. But here in the States, to get that recognition, and obviously the fight beforehand against Canada, everything that led up to it, the text messages that the guys had, it really fired up everybody. And now you see people talking. The viewership was great for it. I know here in the city, everybody was talking about the fans. I'm embedded here in Dallas. You know, I've been here for a very long time. I'm on the ice every day. I talk to fans. I do the broadcasting for the Stars. So there's not many people that have the pulse of the hockey fan here. And everybody loved it. You guys are talking about it. We saw players going on shows all over the place. That's NHL players. Start talking. The Kachucks are obviously a big name now. They understand. And it's a great setup for what we're going to see in the Olympics next year. So it helps hockey. The more we can talk about it and understand this sport, the better it is, because it is a tough sport to watch on TV. It's very difficult. It's pretty complex for people. So the more we can get people engaged with the personalities of the sport, the better it is.
How much does it help? You said you were on the ice yourself. Are you coaching and tutoring youth, younger players, et cetera, like that?
Yeah, I used to work for the development side of it for the Stars. Now I'm broadcasting, and yeah, I work everything from the young kids all the way up to guys that are going semi-pro or professional. I work with them. I train them off the ice. My background, I played professional hockey for many, many years, 14 years. But really, my background is athletic therapy. That's what I took in school. I love training kids. I love working with kids. I mentor them is really what I do. And yeah, so I get the best of both worlds. I get to talk hockey in the morning, and then I do my broadcast at night. So I am always sharing stories with everybody, and hopefully these kids will go on to be great people first and foremost, but continue to enjoy our sport here in Texas.
I'm 45. I do not know how to ice skate. I'm terrified of it. I do love watching hockey. Do you think you could teach me how to ice skate?
Can you bend your legs?
Yeah, I can bend them.
So yes, you can. We're good to go.
All right. Well, I was curious. Yeah. All right. Well, maybe one day I'll try.
You got to give it a go.
I'll get it. So yeah, no, put me in the goal. I don't mind.
No, hold on.
Wait a minute. You said goal.
You don't want to be a goalie. Do not be a goalie. No.
Okay.
Goalies are over here when everybody else is over here. So all of them, whether it's professional or adult or youth, that's just the way it is. So you don't want to be a goalie, or maybe you do. The guys could tell me what your personality is.
Are they like closers in baseball, where like the closer is just like a little bit off?
There, you nailed it. Let's move on.
I just want to run into a goalie later.
But hey, here's the deal. The two goalies we have are not like that. You know, Jake Ottinger, he is not like that. Everybody tells me that he's just a down-to-earth, great kid, and he really comes across that way, real mature guy. But yeah, I've played with a lot of them, and they're a little bit off, and you have to be because you're blocking shots all the time, which is strange as it is.
Yeah, you can't go, like, you're not really going to go out. You have to take that punishment too. You know, people are rolling into you. I
had to skate. I have an adult skate every Friday where we have 40 people come in. We have goaltenders, and the goalie today was complaining to me that he got hit with the puck in the thigh. He was seriously complaining to me that he got hit in the side of the leg. And I said, well, you got one job. This is goalies. You got one job. Stop the puck. That's it. There you go.
Somebody getting in the ring for a boxing match and wait a minute, they hit me. They hit me.
Exactly. You guys know where I'm coming from.
You've mentioned Victory Plus, and everyone knows in the last year or so the changes when it comes to regional broadcasts. The Stars, the Rangers have been a part of it, etc. Victory Plus has given everyone an opportunity to watch the Stars anywhere, anytime. What has that been like to finally have something that everyone knows where they are, and how's it worked out, of course, with what you're doing too?
Yeah, you can just pull out your phone and go after it, right? That's it. That's the way people are. These young folks these days, I'm a little older than all you guys over there, but these young folks, they want it easy, they want it quick, they want it on their phone. And yeah, it was obviously the biggest complaint for everybody is, where are you guys? How do we get you? Where does it? And now you just pull up the app and away you go. Everybody that I talk to, for the most part, has had outstanding kind of being able to watch this game. It's easy to find. They love the coverage, and of course, with the Stars and Josh Bogarite, Darryl Ray, some of the best in the business, they're outstanding, and people love the game. So if you can find it, especially as the Stars, like tonight is a huge game. If you want to watch a fun game, you got to tune in. Hey, tune in for the pregame show. We're pretty good too. 6:30 is what we're looking for. And we have fun with it, right? We have a great group. The broadcast people care so much about the product. I've worked in different cities as well, but these people, they really care. And they've got a great group back there that are in the truck, that are setting up this whole thing. They care about the product. They care about the team. And it's just not, they don't just push it out there. They want to make sure it's the best. And that's why I'm proud to be a part of this team, which is behind the real team that puts it together every night for you guys. So watch. It's a good sport. It's a lot of fun. Victory Plus, easy to get to.
Brent, what is the one thing that you had to learn about being a studio host, analyst? You obviously know what you're talking about, great personality, but sometimes it goes quicker than you think and have to make sure you tie up what you're about to say.
Well, yeah, I'm not a smart guy, and stringing sentences together has always been tough for me. So I've had to learn. I've really had to learn how to do it properly. Yeah, I go back to my first broadcast and the sweat that was coming down. Fellas, I used to have to buy time. I would have to bring in an advertiser with me. I would pay for my time. I would pay the studio, and I would have to do the work. That's how I started this very position that I am so many years later. They wouldn't even pay me to come on air. I had to literally pay them. I paid Fox to come on air to do this job.
Well,
so that's where it started for me.
Yeah, you're in great spot now, no question.
Yeah.
Brent, one of the things that every year watching the NHL, and then, of course, it really came to fruition with the Four Nations, there seems to be a shorter distance between player and fan in the NHL than most. Like, I think that's one of the problems at the NBA. And look, they're great, but like they have these superstars that are, I mean, it's almost like they're on Mount Olympics,
right?
You know, like the Mount Olympus, like they're Greek gods. And maybe it's just the culture of hockey that because it's such a physical sport and such a grind of a season that the guys are more down to earth. And I felt like the story of the NHL, the story of the hockey world was told really well through the Four Nations because they have more of a desire to tell it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of that for when I played was because we fought and we had to be tough and we were humbled every night. And that's the way we were. And it's tough because when you get all these fans around you, the players change even a little bit with hockey players. Yes, they're definitely more accessible and they're great guys for the most part, but you get them in these where there's fans everywhere. And hockey's not that big a sport, but whereas it's football and basketball and baseball, those are the higher tiered sports in here. And it's tough with all these people coming at you. You have to put up the wall. But for sure, hockey players are much more down to earth. And when you get them away from the throng of people, they're just wonderful dudes overall. You know what I mean? Even for me, I do not like to go inside the dressing room. I'll talk to the guys briefly, but I don't know them. I don't need to bug them. I don't need to be there. I'm an old guy that's just coming in. But they are wonderful guys. And when you get to know them, and especially when they're done hockey, that's when they all become real. But yeah, they're better than any other sport. Every journalist, every reporter has told me that hockey players are the easiest to deal with.
No question. Absolutely no question. Can we give you some like rapid fire questions? We have a producer, Andrew Valade. Andrew was like, what was he at all? The state champion?
State champion hockey player in New Jersey.
And then our producer, who's normally here, Garrett Ross, knows Victory Plus, watches the Stars every time they're on. He's out of pocket right now on a vacation trip with the family. Is it okay if I throw some questions at you?
No.
No.
What are you going to do now? If I said no, what are you going to do? Nothing. I'll just push this button and go.
I have been told no many times. And you're lucky I'm not right there to go right hand. 1990 seemed to be a more physical era, a more physical era in the NHL. What did it mean to you as an enforcer during that time, the mindset you had to take into every game?
Oh, boy. You got an hour for that one? Yeah, that's really challenging, very tough. A lot of, my parents are very proud. Yeah, you're not showing any goals. Where's the goals, fellas? For the love of Mary, I had 10 whole goals. But yeah, this is
oh, my God.
This is the film that they sent us.
Yeah,
is that Rob Shickley? I'm going to talk to Rob Shickley. You're going to throw in a goal for the love of Mary.
I am not going to put Rob in this. Okay. How important was it to get a guy like Ben Bishop back to the franchise and be a part of player development?
Yeah, it's important to have those guys because first and foremost, you got to be a good person. And those kind of guys that are at that level, they care about, and I talked about mentoring kids and all that. They also care that the players get better. There's a genuine love for the game. There's a genuine love for each of those guys that come through. And it's important that they come into an organization. And that's what Jim Nill does. He is so good with people, and he's such a good guy. He's built this franchise, and it's part of the reason that Mikko Rantanen rather would be in Dallas than in Carolina. You know, you hear some things about Carolina, but you understand that here, the Dallas Stars, more than anything, have a great organization. They take care of their players. They care. And they have guys like Ben Bishop that are taking care of their young guys. So important that you have a team, a real good, honest team that takes care of your team. It's important.
All right. What have you seen the early returns with Wyatt Johnston? How critical is it that they locked him up for the next 5 years?
Oh, my God. You want to talk about a guy that has a great hockey IQ and maybe will be a captain of this team. You watch this kid and everything they've given to him. And not all players are like this, right? a lot of players, and the players that I found to be very successful, will listen. They will take in bits and pieces from every coach, every trainer, nutritionist, whatever it is, whoever they have to talk to, and they take that and they build it within their game. And he lived with Joe Pavelski, so he must have been a sponge with all that information, a wily veteran of the NHL and a great player and a great person. He's taken all that in, and he's translated into the ice. When he first came in, they said, well, can this kid make the team? Yeah, he can make the team. Can this kid play center? He can play center. Can this kid now kill penalties? Yeah, he can kill penalties. Can this kid now do faceoffs? And guess what? He can do faceoffs. And now he's an elite player scoring goals. And so a long-winded answer, yes, it's vital that you sign a guy like that and get him inside the fold for as many years as you can.
How much longer can Tyler Seguin keep playing? And how do you know when it's time? Because I've always heard a professional athlete, if you think about retirement, you're basically retired. But I'm sure that can be a back and forth thing.
Yeah, you don't want to. You try to stay in as long as you can. I did. And I'll tell you, when I found out it was time to quit, I was in Europe for 2 years, and I went over and I was walking by the trainer's office, and the trainer had a smoke in one ear and a Mickey bottle in the other, and he was doing my skates like this. That's when I looked over and I said, it's time for me to shut this down and get a real job. I don't think Sagan's going to have that issue. But with the injuries that he's had and stuff, it's going to be interesting to see. He's got a couple of years on his contract, so let's let him heal up with this and see how he plays in playoffs, and we'll readjust and it's year to year now when you start to get that age, right? See how you're going to be affected by father time, and if you're able to do what you need to do.
Last question. We mentioned the Four Nations. What was it like to play an NHL game in Japan?
Well, I hold the only NHL fight. May surprise you guys. It's going to surprise you that I had a fight with Donald Brashear. I saw it. Yeah, you saw it. And there was a swimming pool. I don't know if you could see it, but there was a swimming pool. Oh, there we go. There was a swimming pool above us because I believe we were on Shiki will tell you about it. But I think there was a swimming pool underneath us. And I'm sure the people there enjoyed the fisticuffs. So it was great. Like I said, anytime, that's the biggest thing that my parents and me appreciate about what I've done with my hockey career is I was able to go out different cities, meet different people. It's quite the experience. It's quite the life. And sometimes you got to pinch yourself for what you did and how you did it, because it was quite a journey, and it's afforded me a great life and a great lifestyle now. So it was outstanding. It was a lot of fun.
Is there enforcer etiquette? Like unwritten rules of enforcing that don't do this, don't do that? Or is it's like when you brushing back a guy in baseball, or being physical under the in basketball? Is there etiquette, or is it just like, no, gloves off, let's go?
Yeah, that's back in my day. These days, I don't think they do it as much, obviously. Yeah. And there's some really tough guys out there, quite honestly, that could play in my era. But I always joke, I would love to take one of the superstars from this era and just drop them in 1991, and for them to feel what hooking, holding, chopping, whacking, hacking, and fighting feels like around a hockey game, because I don't know if they could hack it. I know they're skilled. Connor McDavid could skate through everybody.
Yep.
But a guy like Pat Verbeek, who's a smaller, real nasty guy, would chop you in half as you went by. Could they take it? We'll see. So yes, there is an etiquette to fighting, and you want to square up. You want to make sure they're ready to go. If they have a broken hand, they have to make sure they let you know and you don't fight them if they're not running around. So yeah, there is a whole etiquette to you. There's been books written about it. But the thing about it is, it's some of the toughest, nicest guys you've ever met that I had to fight, and that I had a pleasure now of talking about it without losing my face too much. It was a pretty cool part of the game that you had to be tough and nasty to play it, and very proud that I was able to hack out 14 years of it.
Man, you did. How long after the season ended, playoffs or otherwise, did it take for your body to get back to normal?
Yeah, you know what's funny? When I retired, the first 2 years after, what I missed was being sore, because you're sore all the time. I used to take 2 weeks off after the season to try to recoup, but then guess what? You're back in the gym, and I started working 6 hours a day to get ready for the next season. So it was an everlasting season. You never really got away from the soreness. You did recover from the hockey soreness, but then it's from the training side of it. So it never went away. And again, that's a pretty cool thing. And I actually missed it. And that's why I started jiu-jitsu and boxing after, and continued to train, because I love the feeling of being sore.
Man, Brent, this has been fantastic. Hopefully, maybe when they get to the playoffs around the corner, we'll be able to jump you on again. Victory Plus, you'll be on tonight.
Yep.
Victory Plus, Winnipeg, Dallas, in a huge game between those two very highly elite teams right now in the National Hockey League. Thank you so much for your time today.
Guys, thank you very much. Talking hockey. We'll see you soon. You got my number now. You can call me anytime.
We do. We do.
Thanks,
Brent Severyn, he's a part of that 99 Stanley Cup championship team. The ultimate, you would think, in winning any kind of championship in professional sports. Obviously, it depends on what sport you like the most or what you play. But what a great personality and a guy that I can imagine. Go to Victory Plus, download it, watch it on your phone, and it's great where every time they play where they're going to be, because it was hit and miss with what was going on in the regional broadcasting business around Dallas and other cities too.
Oh, dear God, yes. By the way, Smokey, I think we need to do more hockey on the show because that was so much fun. Garrett would approve. And two, it's got the Amanda stamp of approval.
Okay.
She's a big hockey fan, although she's having it rough because the Preds are not good.
She's from Nashville.
Yeah, they're not good. Not good. So
yeah, no, that was fun. That was a lot of fun to listen to, and I think I'll probably have more thoughts and more questions because, man, he's a lot of fun.
He's fantastic.
Talk with.
And especially like the best postseason in sports is
yeah.
Well, I mean,
best postseason
NCAA basketball as well would be right up there. But yeah, no, I was enjoying just sitting back and just listening. Kind of lost myself in him talking, but a lot of good stuff there and nice little curveball, change of pace from just the norm, something a little bit different, especially here in the springtime. A great time to poke around. I know we will later with Jared Sandler as well.
Yep.
So yeah, that was great.
They got
thanks to the Stars, the one team in the American Airlines Center I will still support.
There you go.
Look,
and root for.
Here's the thing:
they flipped the Luka trade.
The Stars. That's the way that you should look at it is the Stars don't play in the Mavericks arena. The Mavericks play in the Stars arena.
No question.
Right. Yeah. No,
David,
and they're really good too. I mean, they're obviously going for it at the trade deadline. They're all in on going to win a championship. That's a really good team, and that's all getting much more exciting at this point as well. Still a ways to go, but the Stars are going to be right there in the mix.
Rob Shickley, who set this up, great stuff. That was fun. David Carter out of Houston. This hockey dude is hilarious. Kim Coulter, Brent was fantastic. And also we got other super chats today. Retired stockbroker. How much has he paid his dentist? He looked good, man. I got to tell you, he looked like he was in great shape and still is. He's still, as he mentioned, coaching and tutoring and also helping with younger generation when it comes to hockey in the future. Also the adult leagues that are out there too. So the Stars, Victory Plus on your phone. Easy as that. Download it, use it, watch them. And a huge one tonight against Winnipeg. All right, around the corner, we will have our ACC team schedule we break down. Is it Georgia Tech today? It is Georgia Tech. Then Paul Catalina with Jared Sandler, voice broadcast of the Rangers, as they're out in surprise. And the trip I missed the most
just
now.
To be clear.
The most I missed is going out to cover baseball training camp.
Just to be clear, since we just talk hockey, the Texas Rangers, not the New York Rangers.
Well,
yes.
No,
So
we have the
we're not
Rangers
going full
analyst.
hockey on Fridays, but
we'll have
the Texas Rangers.
We'll have the New York Rangers, one of the great storied franchises in hockey history. Also today, Paul's top five. Andrew, does Andrew Mike know how to turn the mic on over there? What was that like for you being an honored and award-winning hockey player as you grew up? What was that like to hear from Brent Severyn?
Oh, it was just amazing. I guess we don't do too much hockey, but when we do, I really cherish the time that we have and the energy that they bring.
How do you say the word organization?
Organization.
Yeah, because you notice with Brent, organization. I love that. Yep, absolutely. And the great question, Craig, as well, on the Four Nations. That was a phenomenal few days in hockey, too. When we come back, we're going to hear, we'll break down Georgia Tech's football schedule with their quarterback and Haynes King, Brent Key, their head coach, and then Jared Sandler on baseball training camp in the top five. This is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Ted Teague, the general manager. David Gray is the general sales manager. Right now, no better place Incredible selection of new and pre-owned vehicles, unbeatable prices. Here's what I just got from Ted earlier. In fact, it was yesterday. 2020 Jeep Cherokee Latitude for just $13,750. How about the ultimate luxury in the SUV, a 2023 Jeep Grand Wagoneer, packed with all the bells and whistles for only $60,950. You need something kind of tough and rugged like Brent, Severyn, and NHL hockey players, a 2020 Jeep Gladiator Overland waiting for you at $31,495. Maybe you're after efficiency and reliability, then grab the 2024 Subaru Forester with 20,000 miles for just $29,625 or $29,265, or the 2022 Volkswagen Atlas SEL, $35,990. Alan Samuels has something for every budget, every lifestyle, what personality you want in your car, truck, or SUV. David Gray, General Sales Manager. Ted Teague, General Manager and CEO. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
365 Sports as we start this final hour of this week, and when we get back Monday, we'll have all of the NCAA Field of 68, look back at that and much more. One quick update before we go to Georgia Tech and their game with and their schedule for 2025. Tennessee ends Texas's run 83-72. UT most likely at 19-15, still in the tournament. It doesn't mean it's automatic, but they're absolutely like near the top of that bunch of teams that are trying to get in. But Tennessee wins 83-72. Craig Smoak.
Yeah, so it's time to take a look at the Georgia Tech football schedule as we go around all of the leagues. I don't know, are we just doing all power leagues? Have we decided that? Or
I think we're just going to let it go.
Let's get to the
got
power
about a
leagues
month.
and
We got about 60 days left with all the power schools.
Yeah, so we are reaching the midway point, I think, of the ACC now. We've already gone through the Big 12, and so today brings us to Atlanta, Georgia, and the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, led by Brent Key and also quarterback Haynes King, although we saw their young quarterback play quite a bit last year as well. But I'd forgotten about this until I was just kind of looking around. But second-year coordinator Chris Winkie, formerly of Florida State, there's co-OC along with Buster Faulkner.
Heisman Trophy winner, baby.
Yep. Not a national champion, though.
Yes, he was.
Oh, yeah, he was.
1999.
Not in 2000.
Or 97 when he broke his neck. But he led the team to 3 different national championship games. So
yeah, that's nice.
He's one in. Well, he didn't play in 97.
Wouldn't you give
98.
anything to have him now?
I'd take him today, and he's
Georgia Tech.
50.
He'd make good NIL money probably,
Yeah.
but right now he's making pretty good money as co-OC at Georgia Tech. So the Yellow Jackets, remember last year they started the season in Ireland with Florida State of all teams.
That's
and
a great game.
Got off to a nice start there with the win. And they were a fun team. They finished 7-6, ended up losing in the Birmingham Bowl. But they were a very competitive team, very fun team to watch, and fell in the Birmingham Bowl to Vanderbilt. But now they're 0-0, and this is not a full season preview, as I will always remind you. It's just to look at the schedule, and we'll fill in some blanks over the next few months. But they have a hell of a schedule, I'll tell you. I don't know where it ranks if you actually take real metrics and not just like opinions. I don't know where it would rank computer-wise, but I would have to think it might be kind of up there with just some of the teams that jump off the page here, and that includes game number 1, right out of the gates, non-conference play, a Friday game to start the season for Georgia Tech, a road game to start the season for Georgia Tech, and a Big 12 opponent to start the season for Georgia Tech, as they will be playing Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes on Friday, August the 29th, the opener there for Georgia Tech. Then they will continue non-conference play the following Saturday against Gardner-Webb. And then the next Saturday, September the 13th, not the end of their non-conference schedule because the ACC does not play as many conference games as other leagues do. So they actually have the 4 non-conference games. But to close out this is a conference game. I'm tripping. The next one isn't. But on Saturday, September the 13th, they have a break in non-conference play as they will play the Clemson Tigers. They're in the opener to ACC action on Saturday, September the 13th. And it's the following week, Saturday, September the 20th, where they get the third of 4 non-conference games in. So that's a weird schedule. Like a Friday night, a second non-conference game, a conference game, another non-conference game, then about 6 conference games, and then a non-conference game to end the season is how it goes. But because of that, let's just stop there with that. Well, I guess I'll do one more. After Clemson, you get Temple in Week 4 at home, that third of 4 non-conference games, and then Wake Forest to close out September and this first 5-week stretch before your bye week. Wake Forest on the road, and just their second road game in the first 5 weeks, and their first since that Colorado game in the very first week of the season. So at Colorado, Gardner-Webb, Clemson at home, Temple at home, at Wake Forest. There is your full August 29th through the month of September schedule, and then they get the first open week. So let's stop there.
Yeah, looking at their schedule too, they play almost all their games in Georgia and North Carolina, except the one in Colorado and the one in Massachusetts later. So they're in 2 states most of the season, which I think is kind of weird overall because they have a bunch of home games.
So why is it the SEC is the one that takes the bullets for playing only 8 conference games?
Great
and
question.
The ACC does too?
See, here's the deal. The ACC likes to hide behind that. But they are also...
They absolutely have been able to.
But they are also, let me see the word here is, chicken shit when it comes to their schedule. They should. And then they'll say like, oh, we all play one SEC team. Yeah, but you also play Gardner-Webb, and a bunch of you, Clemson, Florida State, stash a Wofford in right before your rivalry game. So cry me a river.
I'm apologizing. to the SEC because they seem to take the brunt of any of this. They only play 8 conference games.
No, I mean, I think that's a legitimate thing to point out because it's true. They get mentioned, but it's always like, oh, yeah, and the ACC doesn't do it either. But it's like, but Greg Sankey says that.
But see, the ACC also has been smarter in this argument in that when you say, why don't you do it, they don't go, because it's so hard. Yeah. The ACC just like, well, we don't.
Yeah.
Well, if you have non-conference games like Florida, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Georgia, that's something there. But everybody seems
it's not.
Conference.
I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You're splitting hairs. No. Yeah. So the ACC, everybody should go to 8 or everybody should go to 9.
Yeah,
Pick
I mean,
and that's
really,
fine.
dude.
Like, I don't care what it is. Just make it the same.
Yeah.
But these first few games are interesting. We'll get to know a lot about both the Colorado and Georgia Tech right off the bat there. So I like those where you can kind of see, like, okay, this is who you are.
I mean, Colorado and Clemson.
So right off the bat, Colorado and Georgia Tech, like, they're kind of in similar, well, not similar spots in that Georgia Tech has a lot more returning players. But Colorado, again, are you for real? Can you respond, repeat? If you're Georgia Tech, can you keep on this thing that Brent Key's been building of, hey, you're lethal now. You're scary. You can go beat teams. You can live at the top of the conference, and you'll get to test that out really early because you're going to play a really, really good Clemson team in the third week of the season.
Yeah, I mean, at worst they should be. I mean, at worst you'd say 2-3. At best, you're looking at probably 4-1, I think is very feasible because I don't think Colorado's a loss guaranteed by any means, Boulder or elsewhere. I think the only game you look at and you go, they're probably not going to win that game is Clemson. But who the hell knows, week 3 of the season. But that's the game I would just say, like, yeah, that's the most likely loss. So at Colorado, Gardner-Webb and Clemson at home, Temple at home. So 3 in a row there in September, and then back on the road to close out the month at Wake Forest, and then your break. You come back on October the 11th, probably at like 3-2, 4-1 at that point. And if you're 5-0, then like holy cow, like you'll have a win over Clemson, you'll have a win at Colorado, you'll have gone to Wake Forest and won, so you're going to be in pretty good shape. But wherever they find themselves, they will be back on Saturday, October the 11th, at home against the Virginia Tech Hokies. That'll be followed by a road trip against Duke on Saturday, October the 18th, which should be another feisty team. Like, you start looking, I mean, I don't really know what to make of Virginia Tech just yet, but, I mean, Duke should be a little bit spicy. Syracuse with Fran Brown last year ought to be pretty spicy, and that's who they get following the Duke game, Saturday, October 25th. Syracuse and Fran Brown at home. Then one more game before their second bye week, which is Saturday, November the 1st, at NC State. So that is the second leg of their schedule. Home versus Vatech, at Duke, home versus Syracuse, at NC State. That's part 2. And what it breaks down to be a 5-4-3 schedule here, which is pretty.
That sounds like a double.
Average.
That's a double play. 5-4-3.
That middle 2 of that 4 is pretty tough. Duke, who I think most people think is going to be pretty good. Syracuse, year 2 under Fran Brown, showed a lot last year. Did well in the portal. Replacing Kyle McCord, who's going off. So we'll see. But this one. If they're 2-2 out of this 4, that would not shock me. Or if they're 4-0, it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're going to be super competitive. So you can just coin flip, I think, a lot of these games based on what we do or do not know right now. So that is the second leg of the schedule. Then they come back on Saturday, November the 15th, and it'll be a road trip at Boston College. Then Saturday, November 22nd, it will be home versus Pittsburgh. And then the regular season finale, and this one has actually been moved. So I looked at ESPN's calendar. They don't have this updated just yet, but last I looked, this has been moved to Black Friday. Georgia Tech will take place on Friday, November the 28th, and you see the correction there on their very own schedule there. It's their navy blue because it just got moved recently, I think. But, yeah, that is now scheduled to be a Black Friday game taking on Georgia. Neutral site, obviously, to close out the season. So a pair of Friday games. You'll have the neutral site with Georgia there at the very end. Outside of that, nothing too crazy unique. The 5-4-3 as far as the bye week breakdown goes there. Among the teams, before I get to the teams they will not be playing that are notable, that last stretch at BC, home versus Pitt, neutral versus Georgia. Any thoughts on that 3-game end to the regular season?
Well, Pitt and Georgia back-to-back with one less day to prepare for Georgia in the rivalry game's tough. I mean, like that – and not to say that Boston College won't be a difficult one in Chestnut Hill this year.
ACC's actually got some interesting head coaches now.
They do.
Like Belichick and Bill O'Brien, and it's just kind of interesting.
Yeah, and look, Brent Key is a guy on the rise, man.
Let me tell you something. That's a tough son of a bitch.
Yeah,
I love the
Baylor
way
look at
he
him,
played.
or was that Brent Pry that I'm thinking of?
Brent Pry.
Yeah, okay,
Pry,
okay.
Yeah, Brent Pry is in a different spot.
Yeah,
like,
he's not.
He's in the.
We'll get to him.
He's in the. Maybe we like it, maybe we don't. We don't know yet. In Charlottesville is where Brent Key. They're like, where has this been for 20? Since Johnston left. Really, when they stopped with Paul Johnson, when they stopped running the wishbone, the triple option, or whatever they were running there. But yeah, Pitt and Georgia back to back. That appears to me right now to be really tough. And Georgia's going to be Georgia. I mean, we know that. Like, how Georgia they'll be, I think, always remains to be seen with Gunnar Stockton taking over at quarterback and a lot of the losses they've had. But, I mean, they're a machine. And Pitt with Eli Holstein, that's scary.
Yeah, one of the notes about some of these games that I found interesting in kind of the summary of these was that the season opener at Colorado, first ever between the two teams, and they did split a national championship.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people would know that still.
Yeah. Georgia Tech beat Nebraska in the bowl game to get their piece of it.
Yeah, so the 1990 national champions will square off for the first time ever, which I would never have guessed that. We just figured they would have crossed paths at some point. But, that's pretty cool. Also, the first regular season opponent from the Big 12 since Georgia Tech hosted KU in 2011. And before UCF fans go, whoa, wait, regular season opponent, because they did play UCF in the Gasparilla Bowl, not this recent one, but the year prior. So, first regular season Big 12 opponent since 2011. And, there is the schedule, the 5-4-3 games against Colorado on the road to start things off with, and a neutral side against Georgia to close this. That's pretty nice bookmarks on the season. You get Clemson in what should be just a fun game. Road trips to Duke, road trips to NC State, road trip to Boston College, so and Colorado, obviously. So that'll be fun. Now, they do not play Notre Dame, just with the ACC potential matchups, but they also do not play Miami. They don't play Florida State. They don't play SMU. They don't play North Carolina. They don't play Louisville. And I think I can just stop there because that's a pretty significant chunk of teams that they are going to miss out on that are going to be potentially in the mix or should be absolutely be in the mix in the ACC. So, yeah, no Irish, no Canes, no Mustangs, no Heels. And I've mentioned them mostly just because of the Belichick factor of that we really don't know, but they're at least interesting for right now to talk about. And then, Louisville, who's always pretty good. So, they miss out on those. So, I don't know, a tough schedule, and yet when I run down who they're not playing, I feel like they kind of caught a break as well. It could be worse. You could have Miami on here, I guess, in place of a team.
The algorithm could have killed you.
Yeah, with their non-conference. I mean, having Georgia and Colorado on there, they really could have got dealt a blow. But I think it worked out overall pretty okay. It's a tough schedule, but definitely feel like you should be a bowl team. Beyond that, I don't know, enough to have any sort of solid expectation. But I'm very excited to see what I hope is a healthy Haynes King this year, because the dude's a player, and he was going through ungodly amounts of pain last year to be out there every weekend for the most part. So looking forward to watching him once again out there in Atlanta.
Georgia Tech and Colorado's uniforms that game when they play will be gorgeous. They're gold and white, and Georgia Tech's got a little navy blue in them sometimes, but those could be two good-looking jerseys when they open up that game in late August. The fact that they split the 1990 state championship, national championship, Colorado ended up beating Notre Dame 10-9 in the bowl game, And I believe it was it Rocket Ishmael who ran back a punt for a touchdown? It was called back because I think a block in the back. Georgia Tech mauled Nebraska like 45-21. That's back when you had a handful of years in the 90s when teams split national titles before where we are today. But those were two really good teams.
I don't miss the split national championships.
I only do. Well, yeah, because that's as much of a beauty contest as anything else because it's up to the voters only. And you could have no one plays each other that plays for and wins the national title, like 97 Michigan and Nebraska. It happens. It's happened quite a bit.
So,
go
Paul,
ahead.
any grand expectations for Georgia Tech this year?
I think this is a team that's 8-4. At worst, I really do. I think especially if they keep Haynes King healthy. Look, there's no, they have Clemson on the schedule, but no Miami and no FSU.
So no FSU means one less win, but
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and FSU's had that's one of their
kryptonites.
Yeah, they just never. They never blow them out when they win them, and they never really seem to play well against them. But yeah, I mean, they've got a couple of tough ones, but as an ACC schedule goes, I think it's pretty fair to them. And look, they were right on the door of knocking Georgia out of the playoff last year.
Yeah. So you mean a spearing call?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't called.
But they were right on the door of it. And so if they can build off of a season like that a year ago, if Haynes King can throw the ball for 12 games as opposed to just being, kind of the fullback.
1925 football.
Yeah, exactly.
Running quarterback. Which,
makes me like him that much more.
Sure.
But he is a good passer when he, can pick his arm all the way up. Exactly. So if that happens, I think they'll be quite good.
Yeah, I think the non-con definitely makes it puts some big lipstick on the schedule. It's not like a pig without it, but it puts a little extra something on there playing Colorado and Georgia as bookends. But yeah, there you go. There's the schedule for Georgia Tech. And yeah, I would say 8-4 just on the surface seems. I mean, they were 7-6 last year, so you got your quarterback back. You're hopefully healthy. You got a backup quarterback back. You do lose some good talents, but we can get into that in the summertime. Yeah. But there's the Georgia Tech schedule.
All right, Craig. I like little nuggets, and I know we got to go for the Jared Sandlin review. I think both that Georgia Tech and Colorado, with split the national title, and both of them had a tie, which is another thing that changes things up because you have the overtimes. They both had a tie during their unbeaten but once tied season.
Don't you miss the good old days when teams had ties and they split national championships and never even played each other for it? I mean, that's not exactly the greatest argument, but that is part of an argument for why things needed to change somewhat, because that was kind of ridiculous when you look back on it. So that stuff did change for the better. I don't know about some of the other things, but that's definitely for the better.
I actually, they tied Tennessee, Colorado did. They lost to Illinois, who was ranked by 1, and then they got on their run after that. I'm glad I looked at the 1990 Colorado schedule. They were losing to Nebraska 12-0, entering the fourth quarter, and Bieniemy scored 4 consecutive 1, 2, and 3-yard touchdown runs. All right.
Good old sleeping with.
Yeah. We will turn around and turn it on with another ACC team on Monday. Throughout next week, we'll be a part of that. Don't forget, next week, we will be in Frisco at the Star, broadcasting, I believe it's on Wednesday and Thursday, Big 12 Pro Days. Thanks to Alan Samuels, House of Travel, for setting us up with a beautiful home for us to be just driving distance away from going into the Star every day to do our broadcast for a couple of days. And Brent Yormark will be a guest that week with us.
Yeah, that'll be good to talk with him for the first time in
it's been a while.
I guess a year?
Yeah, last Big 12 Media Days,
No, so less than a year, but close to it. So I won't be here on Monday, so I don't know if y'all want to continue doing the schedule thing or not. But up next will be Louisville, for those wondering.
You got to say it right. You said it right. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, Louisville, and then Miami, North Carolina, NC State, and then we'll see what y'all do on Monday. We might get to Pitt as well, but that's what's coming up next week.
I'll make that decision. Wow. Okay, Thank you, Craig. We'll have Jared Sandler, Paul Catalina, visits with one of the voice of the Rangers Radio Network. Jared Sandler, the top 5 and more. This is 365 Sports.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive in North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown. .365 Sports, Paul Catalina here at the home studio and recording here with Jared Sandler, Rangers Radio Network. And Jared, coming off of the World Series going into last year, anything short of a World Series from now on for Rangers fans will be some grade of a letdown, because it never happened before winning all that. But here we are 2 years removed from it. And this is a team that was very injured last year and appears, at least so far through the first 3 weeks or so of spring training, that this is a healthy team now. How much does that change the outlook of what's going on?
Yeah, I think there's an excitement level that this camp has that the 2023 camp didn't have. Remember 2023 team was coming off a really down 2022, and there were some questions. Is it a playoff team? Is it not a playoff team? The hope was, hey, let's just play competitive games in September, get in the playoffs, see what happens. And, they ended up winning the World Series. But now once you've done that, I think it raises the bar in terms of what is fair and realistic from an expectation standpoint. And so, yeah, last year was not the type of year that anyone wanted. You can put it on injuries. You can put it on guys just not performing well, probably a combination. But guys are healthy, and I think there's an optimism that certain guys are going to bounce back, plus the moves that were made this offseason. I think there is a very palpable energy in this camp and an excitement to get the season started for that reason.
Essentially, it's kind of a whole new pitching staff when you have DeGrom back at the top. Now, Evaldi's back. You've got some young guys that are really – Jack Leiter appears to be taking that step. Kumar Rocker was a revelation at the end of last season and how he's bounced back. Not to mention the guys that they have that have come back that are kind of battle-tested in that. Is there an energy because of now DeGrom, Evaldi at the top that should allow the young guys to kind of hit the ground running?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely an excitement with Jacob deGrom's return. Now, he's not going to pitch on opening day. He will pitch sometime that first week, and I don't know how the Rangers are going to handle Jacob deGrom in terms of managing innings and just being smart and cautious to keep him healthy. Because the goal is not to have an exciting month of Jacob deGrom. The goal is to have an exciting season and hopefully a postseason as well. But there are certain athletes in any sport who perform at a level that is so above and beyond what is even typical for a great player. And when their peers are marveling at what they're able to do, it leaves an impression. And that's how the Rangers players, I'm sure the Mets players as well, they behave in terms of Jacob deGrom's ability and the way they interact with us in talking about Jacob deGrom. And I think when you can get that guy back on the mound, it does give your team a little bit of a morale boost. And the rotation with deGrom and Eovaldi, regardless of what happens after that, I mean, that's a heck of a 1-2 punch. And then if you do get a step forward from Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter, and once Cody Bradford's healthy again, you get production from him. And let's not forget that John Gray is still a really good pitcher, and Tyler Mahle. And so I think what's exciting is just the depth that this rotation has to go along with the top end talent with deGrom and Eovaldi.
The two, I guess, big offensive free agent additions were Jock Peterson and Jake Berger. And on the surface, I know that people can look at some of Jake Berger's numbers and be like, he's, his OPS is probably lower than you want it to be, but he's also never been in a lineup like this. He's a power upgrade at first base for sure. And same with Jock Peterson in that, these seem to be guys who will fit well, smoothly into that clubhouse and bring that new energy.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think, Paul, we look so often at needs from a standpoint of the lineup. All right, we need a first baseman, we need a this position, we need a that position, but and obviously that's important, because without a spot to play, you acquire a guy, it's irrelevant. But I think sometimes, because there are guys who can do multiple things, you look at your needs less from a position standpoint and more from a skill set standpoint. And I think with Jake Berger and Jock Peterson, they both bring something that last year's team lacked, and that's the ability to hit the fastball. And specifically with Jake Berger, the ability to hit the elevated fastball. Now, that's not to say that the Rangers lineup is void of other guys who can hit the fastball, but that was a big challenge last year. And so, if Marcus Semien bounces back, I'm sure, the improved ability of hitting the fastball, which has always been a strength for him, is going to be a part of that. So, but with Jake Berger and Jock Peterson, you got the ability to hit the fastball. With Jock Peterson, he's made a habit of crushing right-handed pitching. I mean, one of the best hitters in baseball against righties. The reason why maybe he's not regarded as one of the best hitters in baseball overall is that, he is a platoon player in that regard. He's not a guy who's really going to get a lot of at-bats against lefties. And, his production just hasn't been at the same caliber against lefties as it has been against righties. But against righties, it is elite. Jake Berger, you're right. He has not been in a lineup like this before. And while he might not be a big on-base guy, he's an incredibly aggressive swinger. He brings power. And both Jock Peterson and Jake Berger are, big-time home run hitters, guys who can have 30-plus home run seasons. And, again, the Rangers last year, you wouldn't think it if you just looked at the names in the lineup, but the last year's team really struggled with the long ball. I mean, you can talk about stringing together base hits and walks and all this stuff, but the single best thing you can do when you're in the batter's box is hit the ball over the fence. And the Rangers changed games in 2023 by being able to do that at a much higher clip than last year. And so the Rangers have added a little more punch against the fastball. They've added a little more punch against right-handed pitching, and they've added more power punch as well in acquiring those two guys. And I think they're going to be great fits for those reasons and more.
The Rangers have a really fun young core with Josh Young, Evan Carter, and Wyatt Langford. If those guys can stay healthy and hit their potential, Wyatt Langford, we'll start with him. I thought his rookie year, like I'm sure he would describe his rookie year as fine by his standards. Like he learned major league pitching. He got to do a lot of things. He didn't hit the home runs I think everybody thought he was going to, but I think if you graded it, you would say like, okay, that's a good rookie season. That was a productive player. He can take the next step forward. Do you see that he is taking those steps forward? Because I guess if you graded on last year's spring training, every other one in the world maybe seemed down because he was just raking all through March last year.
Yeah, I mean, it was around this time where, there was some momentum built. I think I need to look at the date. It might have been a year ago today or around this time when he hit a grand slam in a night game on TV against the Reds, and everyone was just like, "Oh my gosh, here it's happening. It's all gonna, kind of roll into place, and this guy's gonna take the league by storm." But this is tough, and it's not easy. A guy, you think about, he had next to no upper level minor league experience. I mean, very, 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 very minimal. And so for him to even achieve what he did last year was really impressive. And I think what's exciting is, and this has led to expectations again, fair or unfair, but he had such a great end of the season. He wasn't just the AL Rookie of the Month. He was the AL Player of the Month. He had 10 home runs, and he's got the power and speed combo. He can impact a game defensively. He showed tremendous growth in the outfield last year from start to finish. And I think that he's really I think he's really got the ability to be. I mean, Josh Smith said it. This guy's going to win an MVP, maybe more. And I think that everyone. Well, we were talking about DeGrom earlier and the reverence that people have when speaking of him. I think there's a similar type of excitement that people have when talking about what Wyatt Langford's future is like. Now, should we learn a lesson from last year and maybe not place the otherworldly expectations on him right away? Maybe that's fair. But if you told me that Wyatt Langford took that big leap this year, after a year of adjusting last season and really established himself as one of the best players in Major League Baseball, then it wouldn't surprise me either, because I don't think there are a lot of people who are hesitant about their confidence that he is going to get to that point. It's more just a matter of when, not so much a matter of if.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think broke a lot of Rangers fans' hearts was Evan Carter had this kind of nebulous back injury that everybody was worried about, and he was out for the year. I mean, there were those times where it was like Groundhog Day, where you kind of, I'm feeling better, and then it just didn't get there. How is he doing? How does he look? Because he's another guy that he just does a lot of things. Like he's a good in the field. He's a really good contact hitter. Like all these things that you saw from him, especially in that 2023 postseason. If he can be healthy, like again, there's not a lot of guys like Evan Carter just floating around out there.
No, for sure. And he also brings something, Paul, we're talking about skill sets and fits and lineups, and it's not just about position. But, if you think about the guys who you expect to be big parts of this lineup, Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, Josh Young, Jake Berger, these are really aggressive hitters. Adolis Garcia. Evan Carter brings a nice balance because he's not that aggressive. And it's not to say he's not going to swing at a first pitch every once in a while, but I mean, the whole full count Carter thing is corny or cheesy as I think that nickname is. It's a nickname because he works counts. He sees pitches. He's got discipline. And so I think for that reason, he's such a great balance in this lineup with some of the other personalities from a hitting standpoint that you expect to be in there on a daily basis. And I think, his health is as good as it can be right now. I mean, he's on a normal schedule. He's ready to go. I think the big question, along with the health, when it comes to Evan Carter, is he a platoon player or is he an everyday player? And I don't think we're going to have a definitive answer, right now. I don't think we're going to have a definitive answer by the end of the All-Star break. It might not be until the end of the season when we have a definitive answer. But I think, because of the skill sets that you talked about, or skill set you talked about, and the talent and the uniqueness of what he brings, you'd love for that guy to be an everyday player, but he's got to get some experience hitting lefties. And the crazy thing is, because of the combination of his injuries and how quickly he progressed through the minor league system, he really has limited upper level minor league or major league experience against lefties. You'd like to see maybe 1,000 plate appearances against lefties before you really get a sense of, what this guy is or who this guy is. And he just hasn't had anywhere near the amount of repetitions against talented left-handed pitchers. I don't care what he did against some A-ball kid a few years ago, but what about the AA pitcher who's going to be in the big leagues, or the guy in AAA or big league pitching? And that's what the Rangers really need to see. And I think this is going to be a big year for Evan Carter to have a lot of success against righties, but then show growth against lefties.
I mentioned Josh Young before. There are players who are injury prone because they're injury prone, right? Like it's always a hamstring or it's a shoulder or whatever. Josh Young is the unluckiest player, hit by pitches and effort plays and things like that. It seems to me that he is a spark plug for the lineup when he's in a way that I guess it's kind of hard for me to describe. Like even on days where, he might be 1 for 4 with a seeing eye single, he's still there's an energy about him when he was in the lineup that when he's not there, it's just different for everybody. And this is a lineup with a guy who would be the MVP every other year if Shohei Ohtani didn't exist in Corey Seager. But Josh Young's got a bit of an X factor quality to him. Am I putting too much in that? But it really does feel like he elevates it anytime he's in there.
No, I think you're right. 100%. There's he brings, again, we not to go back to this again, but we talk about skill set and fit in a lineup. And, he's a guy who, when you need to score a runner from third base with less than 2 outs, he's a guy who does that sort of thing. He'll put together a good at bat in, a certain situation that might not end up in a, 2-run double, but he's going to be productive in some way, right? He goes up there with a plan. I think his energy, just in general, being in the lineup, being present, being active, plays a huge role. He's really good defensively. I think that he is quietly becoming a leader on this team too. So, I 100% agree. And, I just would love to see what a full season of Josh Young looks like, because, that's an all-star player. He didn't just luck into starting the All-Star game back in 2023. That's who he is, but obviously need the full season or close to it to be able to fully show that. But yeah, I don't know how much I buy into, well, this lineup wasn't good last year solely because Josh Young wasn't there. I just think in this sport, one guy just can't make that much of an impact, at least the degree to which some people were suggesting last season.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that Josh Young's impact on this lineup goes beyond just whatever numbers the box score show, or how the computer processes those numbers and, an impacts type standpoint. I do think he's one of these guys who has an intangible impact on the lineup, and having him healthy will be huge.
Would the biggest concern be the bullpen and how that's going to shake out right now? Is that it? Because outside of health, obviously, that's a thing, but they appear to have addressed everything in turn. But when it comes to the bullpen, that is more than anything in baseball, a year-to-year proposition. A guy can go out and have 50 saves and then have 12 the next year. It is the kind of hottest hand position that you can get in closer.
Yeah, I think if you look at the playoff teams last year, half of them changed, their closer in the middle of the season. So even, for good teams, they're going to have bumps when it comes to this sort of thing. And that to me is if you really want to get specific, it's the ninth inning. I really don't have a ton of concerns about the bullpen. I don't know that this is going to be the 2024 Cleveland Guardians or anything. But I don't have a ton of concerns about this bullpen because I think one of the things they did this past off season was, in Chris Young's words, they raised the floor and they signed a bunch of guys who, I think are going to limit some of that volatility. I think the question to me is who's got the ninth, because we know that, that inning can be different as much as, on paper, it's no different than any other inning. It's just 3 outs. It's different. And, is it going to be Luke Jackson? Is it going to be Robert Garcia? I still think that at the end of the day, if I, was in a position to put some money on anything, and I don't bet on baseball, but if I was forced to, I would say Emiliano Teodo leads the team in saves, even though he's not going to start the season on the big league team. So I think that, there might be a little bit of a time period at the beginning where the team's sorting through some stuff, and roles and comfort and whatnot. But I do think that the bullpen floor, the depth of the bullpen, is a lot stronger than it's been in a while. And the other thing too is depth is not a sexy word, but to me, depth is important as anything. Maybe second to obviously having talent, but I think that depth without depth, talent is kind of wasted. And the depth on this team, this organization, is so impressive, and there's so many guys. Whether it's Emiliano Teodo. If Mark Church makes the team, then he wouldn't count towards this. But if he doesn't, Mark Church, Robbie Alstrom, Cody Hoyer, just a bunch of guys that the Rangers, I think, can call up to help supplement the bullpen at times this year, who, when they come up, they've got good stuff, right? It just seems like in the last few years, the guys the Rangers would call up for the, bullpen support, when guys get hurt or aren't performing, it's like, well, yeah, there's a reason why this guy wasn't up. Whereas now I think there's some guys they're going to be able to call up where it's like, oh man, this guy's not going to go back down. And so I think that that's going to ultimately play out over a long season favorably. There just might be some bumps initially in April.
Last thing, this division, if you had asked me to pick a favorite right now, I would say everyone or no one, because they all have, questions. The Rangers appear to me to be, like, as far as everybody knows what everybody's going to be doing, the Rangers are the one that have the lineup, the rotation, and everything set. The Astros are the Astros, but they appear to be in a period of transition right now. I mean, when you talk about moving Jose Altuve to left field, like, that's a big transition for them. The Sacramento A's, who knows? The Mariners have a good pitching staff, but they don't appear to have addressed their lineup, which was the issue all that much. And then the Angels appear to have done some things, but they're still the Angels, and they're kind of building it all around guys who've been hurt a lot. Is this a chance for them, because they appear to be the team with the arrow pointed truest north right now, a chance to maybe get out in front a little bit if they start hot?
Yeah, no, I think so for sure. The 2015 Rangers were awful to start the season, coming off a bad year, a disappointing year, and they ended up winning the division. And, if the Rangers start 8-16 like the 2015 Rangers, not a big deal, But, yeah, I do think that, you're looking for a changing of the guard, and you don't want to if you can kill that narrative, then that's great. You get off to a great start. Now, I will say in 2023, the Rangers got off to a great start, and they didn't end up winning the division, right? So that's a part of the beauty and the challenge of a 162-game season. You can be 40-20 through 60 games, and you still got 102 more to play, and you can still lose the division. But, yeah, I think so. I'll be honest, Paul. I've picked the Astros to win the World Series more times than not over the last 8 years. So as much as I hate them in terms of projections, I feel like I've approached it pretty fairly. I don't even think they're the third best team in the division. I think as long as playing in Sacramento isn't such a burden that it just prevents the A's from reaching their level of potential or ability, I think the A's are the third best team. I think the Mariners are the biggest threat to the Rangers. But, the one question with the Mariners, you mentioned the lineup, and I think that's fair, although I would say a full year of Randy Arozarena, an improved season from Julio Rodriguez could change the complexion of that. The thing that concerns me is, they had such a remarkable season last year with all their pitchers staying healthy. And here we are already. George Kirby is going to start the season on the IL. And it's just so tough these days. I hate it, but it sucks that it's so rare that pitchers stay healthy. And so for all five of them to stay healthy last year, for the most part, I wonder what this year looks like. Now, if they all stay healthy, then the Mariners are going to be really, really good. And maybe not if they all do. Let's say four of them largely are healthy. But what if last year catches up and there's a little bit of a breakdown from a health standpoint, and they got to dig into their depth from a pitching standpoint? That would be interesting. But I do think that the Mariners are really, really good. Their bullpen isn't as good as it's been in years past, at least on paper right now. It's still a good group. And I actually do think, well, I'm confused at their inability to commit to building the lineup. I do think their lineup is probably better than people are giving them credit for. I just don't think Julio Rodriguez is going to be as bad this year as he was last year for as long as he struggled. I think, gosh, post All-Star break, he had like a sub 700 OPS, and I just don't see that happening.
Jared Sandler, Rangers Radio Network. And Jared, I say this every time we have you on. You guys, year in and year out, are one of the most compelling broadcasts, most fun to listen to. I mean, obviously, when you've got a Hall of Famer and Eric Nadel around and all that, it's always been great. Love hearing you guys. I don't I know the TV thing has been a disaster for a lot of major league teams lately, but at least we're in a good spot where I can just I don't need to see pictures. I can just listen to you guys. You guys are so great. And thank you so much for hopping on with us, and enjoy your next couple weeks out there in Surprise, Arizona before you get back to the real world here.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for having me on.
That's Jared Sandler with us here on 365 Sports.
You might ask yourself what functional mushrooms are good for. Whether it's lion's mane, cordyceps, turkey tail, shiitake, reishi, they all serve a purpose.
You have ones for neurological health, ones for sleeping and gut health, and all these different areas. They pack a powerful punch.
Functional mushrooms are, of the millions of mushrooms and fungi out there, the ones that we can actually ingest and benefit from as humans.
Like all adaptogens, they kind of adapt to what you need at the time that you need them.
We don't even really know that we're suffering. We just don't quite feel right. That's where these adaptogens come in and really start to close the gap and really start getting us closer to how we want to feel.
Functional mushrooms have definitely re-energized me and helped me face each day with a new vigor for life.
Learn ways that functional mushrooms can help you. Go to getumble.com.
You spent hours selecting your patio sofa. Choosing that grill would have taken weeks. Probably your car needed way more time. For sure, you would have spent months mulling over that pool of yours. Protecting your prized possessions needs no time, though. Just visit coversandall.com, create a custom size per your requirements, pick a fabric and personalize your cover. And leave the rest to us. Premium protection for all that you love.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 brought to you by Ticket Club. Forget the fees, just big savings. Click the link in the description to find out more.
Welcome into the Friday edition of Paul Catalina's Top 5. Today, I'd like to talk about the top 5 reasons you should not sign Aaron Rodgers. Word has come out through the NFL rumor mill, whether it's true or not, that Aaron Rodgers is currently waiting on the Vikings because he truly wants to follow in his predecessor Brett Favre's path. If he does go to the Vikings, that would be the exact path of Brett Favre, and we'll see if that happens. Now, that's probably the most ideal situation for him since the Vikings offense is pretty much built, but they drafted their quarterback of the future in J.J. McCarthy last year. He was injured. Sam Darnold had a great season. Now he's moved on to Seattle, and we'll see how that works out for all those people. But if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Vikings, that might be his best shot to win. The other choices right now appear to be the Steelers and Giants. Not going to win with the Giants, might win with the Steelers, but I don't think any of those teams should sign him, and here's why. Number 5, he's old. He's not Brady. Brady was winning and winning and winning and winning and then torn his Achilles. I know that Aaron Rodgers thinks he can do that because Brady did it, but Brady is a unique circumstance. He's old. You're not going to get the peak Aaron Rodgers. Now, with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and Aaron Jones, who he knows from his days in Green Bay, and all of that, are you going to have maybe a more productive Aaron Rodgers with a better coach and a better organization in Minnesota? Yeah, but he's old, man. He's old. Number 4, he's not healthy, and he's old. Tearing the Achilles last season, or 2 seasons ago now, was a terrible thing for a guy who was in his age 39 year. Now he's going to be in his age 41 year. He is not the same guy. The thing that made Aaron Rodgers great and the best pure passer possibly of all time was the fact that he could throw on the move, get out of the well quick, plant his feet and go. It's just not the same anymore. He does not have that same escapability and mobility. Number 3, you can't give him his bestest buddy. Devontae Adams is off in Los Angeles. Maybe you can bring in Alan Lazard, and maybe you don't need him. But the fact remains that they had a pretty good wide receiver situation when he showed up in New York. And what did he do? He complained until he got the guys he wanted. He complained until he got the running backs he wanted. He complained until he got everything he wanted. Now, either Minnesota has everything he wants already, or they don't. And if they don't, then is Justin Jefferson, possibly the best wide receiver in football, not going to be good enough for him because they're not pals? They don't know each other? All of this are too many questions, and why, once again, the Vikings, who were in the playoffs last year, should roll with their young guy in J.J. McCarthy. Number 2, he's weird, dude. He's just weird. He brings a weird energy to the locker room. And while maybe the players feel differently and he's got his friends and whatnot, that's fine. But you really want that vibe coming into a locker room that was really together, and if not for the playoff matchup that they had, might have gone further because they had a really good locker room vibe. And I'm not sure you can bring in Aaron Rodgers into that and it improve from a year ago. Again, that would be on Kevin O'Connell. And number 1, he's an attention whore. Look, the Pat McAfee thing is not because he's friends with Pat McAfee. I mean, they are. But he also gets paid a lot of money to go on Pat McAfee. And he loves going on Pat McAfee because it gives him a chance to be a pundit, to be a guy who knows everything. And Aaron Rodgers thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. Here's the thing. If you think you're the smartest guy in the room, you're not. The smartest guy in the room doesn't need to tell anybody he's the smartest guy in the room. Everyone else knows. And Aaron Rodgers and this is his pursuit of his post-career, whatever that's going to be, brings in a lot of controversy because he intentionally brings it on because he likes the attention. Why would you think he would even consider staying in New York with the Giants, an abysmal organization right now who is rudderless and trying to figure out what the next steps are? Is it because the Giants can win right now? No, they have like 18 holes to fill. If they bring him in, it's one temporarily. It's not even, if it's patchwork on the road, it's like that stuff they put on before they come on to really finish it.
That's what he is. He's patchwork. He's not the future. He's the now, and the now isn't as good as you think it is. No matter how good a coach you think you are, it's done. Plus, the negativity he brings is more than the positivity. Bottom line, Aaron Rodgers is cooked. Let him go retire and do whatever he wants and be the attention whore he wants. Just don't let him do it to your team. That's going to do it for this Top 5. That's going to do it for the show. Have a great weekend, everybody.